Hello, hello, can you hear me now? All right. Hello, welcome to the office hours, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of Twitch. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. How y'all doing? Hey, GR. Was that the ending? No, it should have been the starting screen. Maybe I had it in the ending screen. That's all right. I blame my lack of caffeine. It showed ending. Whatever. we're reverse streaming, just like Merlin. It's the Merlin of streams. Welcome to the office hours. This is a live stream that I do on Thursdays. You're welcome, I guess, to join us live on Thursdays at 8 p.m. my time, so 9 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, or no, it's the reverse. Again, I'm reversing everything in my brain today. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you're hearing a lot of rain in the background, it's because we have an epic storm going on here in Texas, so it may or may not cut out in the middle of this stream, but I'll do my best to stay up as much as possible. Hey, Hourglass Mage, thank you. Yes, 3 a.m. in the land of the squats. We're ending our day at the AstroPub. Time for reflection and a pint. Just polished off a 30 ounce of blueberry mead. Nice. Hey, Aether. Doing well, yeah. The land of you should be fucking asleep. You should be the fuck asleep. Don't really have much. I think I polished off some stuff here. I'm slowly working my way through the Casterkin. They're very detailed, so it's taking me a little bit longer. But for those who don't know, I do miniature painting as a hobby. I'm slowly working my way through a bunch of Warhammer minis. I've finished a bunch of them. I also have a bunch of Blood Bowl minis, which I have made. I've got Star Citizen ships. I have Star Wars Legion, a bunch of stuff, so. A lot of backup catch-up we gotta do. But welcome, everybody. Close some stuff down. We got a lot of information today. A lot. But we will not be doing the big name, which is the Squadron 42 information, which I know everyone else will be doing. But we did release a couple of things. First of all, we released the latest lore video. And we also released the the roadmap update video. So, the lore video is on the Astro Historian, and the AstroPubLive has the update video. So, yeah, I got some feedback. I was using the wrong term, as I tend to do with things like the roadmap. I was saying sprints. That's not technically true because of how sprints and agile works. It's more like it's just planned work. It's when that planned work ends. I think I misheard somebody calling it sprints and just kind of internalized it. So that's the reason why I don't do a lot of I don't do progress report stuff. I understood the concept though, which was this is when it was planned to end. Doesn't mean that it's ready to go or that's going to be released. That was the whole point. It was just the work that they were working on. And then, what else was their feedback? A lot of people were saying it was too slow at the beginning because we were just kind of going over stuff that a bunch of people already know. My plan isn't to do that all the time. It's just to kind of focus on the updates, but I wanted, since that was the first time I'd done that, I wanted to go over that. You got a question. I went back to it and watched the last AIE's Jax videos. And at one point, someone said Jax is streaming live from Pyro. I know in the lore information can travel FTL through jump points. How would Jax be sending a live video without a data runner? So, this is a complicated question with a complicated answer, which CIG, the answer is probably CIG fucked up and they're going rule of cool over anything else. But the way it's easily answered in the verse through the stuff that works. What you're watching right now, if you're watching me live, isn't live. It's 15 seconds, a minute, whatever behind when you actually watch it, because you have to count for travel time at the speed of light. So nothing is ever really live. It's always on a delay of some kind. So while it was live streamed, meaning streamed live from Pyro, that doesn't mean it was streamed live in the sense that it was real time. We don't know what the information lag time would have been. But there are relay stations in Pyro and in other locations, which may be relaying signals back and forth from different systems. There are people who live in Pyro who aren't just lawless fuckasses, and there may even be some good reason for pirates to upkeep some communications systems to communicate with forces on the other side of the jump point. Now, there is a situation in a way that you actually transmit information through these relay stations and through capsules, pods, drones. Effectively, each station that's located near a jump point has a bunch of drones. Those drones...
Hey, a tip!
Mr. Hyde, super chatted $10. This should be about 12 seconds.
Bingo, exactly. Live reaction. But that's probably 12 seconds coming in later. What was likely done was this information is then put into a pod or into a drone, shot through the wormhole, through the jump point, back out of the other side, and then transmitted or docked with a station at the other side of Stance's jump point, and then transmitted again. No, not necessarily. There's live viewers right now, but it's delayed. If Jax was responding live to the viewers within seconds of those chats going on, that would be a fuck up. And there's also, yeah, you don't know who else is watching it or how it's checking it. Thank you, Ethir. Relay to relay, exactly, yeah. Thank you, Antidude. Who thinks they'll ever get past, say, 200 on a single server instance shard at a time? They probably will. The issue is a couple of different factors. Number one is entities. So here's the thing that's important to remember. As they decrease the space upon which a server deals with things in the game, the more stuff that can be put into that area, including players. So as those places get smaller and smaller, or are able to cover smaller and smaller regions, then you will have higher numbers of players populated there. The issue right now comes down to mostly just improvements. It's not necessarily tech, but to get more people in the server, per server, is a combination of server meshing, but also just unfucking the code. Because they got to go back and fix a lot of the issues they have with the current netcode. That's going to be an ongoing process that will exist for a long time. And netcode doesn't exist, but, you know.
Morin, super chatted $7.35. 07.
Hey, Mark, thanks for that 10 Canadian there, buddy. I would assume the lag time would be massive. Yeah, probably several hours. Yeah, thank you, Athir, for saying you enjoyed the roadmap video. I see a lot of people misunderstand how the roadmap works or just not bother to learn in the first place. I think your new roadmap series will help get people in that regard. Yeah, it's... I hesitated to do it because it's a lot of boring shit. It's not a lot of exciting stuff. There are some cool things, but it's not like the monthly report, which is going over stuff they've actually worked on. So these are things that you know may show up in a future installment. You can kind of track it and lace it together. It's a lot of times with the roadmap stuff, it's very simple. It's just, these are the people who are working on this topic, and the work is going to end around this time. That's it. It's just a list of what's being worked on. Now, you can get some interesting things in there, like, for instance, persistent halves being worked on. And also get some more depressing things, like, obviously, the resource system's taking longer than they anticipated. At least right now, they're anticipating it taking it until at least September, which means that we're probably not going to see it until 4.0. That's why we have data runner ships for information. Data runners work two ways. You can think of them as like couriers, but also as armored car transports, because those relays are not secure. People hack into those relays all the time. So if you have secure information that you need to travel from point to point, a data runner is going to be better, and it's also faster because the data runner can you can think of the network that exists as often filling with a lot of stuff and prioritizing messages and information that's being sent back and forth, and it may take some time before it gets loaded or gets everything downloaded into a drone and sent across the jump point to the other relay station. That could take minutes, hours, days, or weeks, depending on the volume of information that's coming through that relay station. So a data runner can cut through all of that delay and just go. So they're often much faster than the relay system, but the relay system exists, yeah. $80 Titan suits incoming. Stand by for cash fall. It may be longer than you think there, because Titan suits aren't coming out until after Squadron 42. Titan suits and physical lockers. CIG, just take my money. Hope your day went well, Paul. It's all right. Makes me wonder how system-to-system money transfers work. Probably through data runners. You probably have data runners. They probably have data runner services on tap for moving that information, but it's still going to take longer. You have to transfer it. It's that kind of stuff. Can you imagine an M2 coming into Jumptown and 6+ Titan suits jump out during low approach? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I can imagine that. And it makes me stupidly happy. How long till Star Kitten Titan suits, though? Probably longer than you think, because CIG has this aversion to anything cute and or feminine in their game, or traditionally feminine. Hey, Sumiko. Now you want to play Titanfall 2 again, Darsh? Yes. Okay, everything should be working. Oh, right. I gotta actually pull the Scorpius giveaway. Let's do that real quick, because that should be ended now. Do, 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 do. Zealand experienced 1.2 FPS server shenanigans right after the patch on PTU yesterday. That was interesting. Woof. See, I've been hearing a lot of people being like, I get single-digit FPS on my super beefy rig, and I'm like, what? I'm not experiencing that myself, so I don't know what's going on. All right, draw whatever. Oh, I pulled the winner. And they're in chat right now. This very rarely happens. But congratulations to Aimless, who won the Scorpius package. Paul, I'm stuck at work. Send help. I can't send help. I can only send thoughts and prayers. I am stuck in Megastorms, so. I know Aimless was here earlier, so. Finally beat that stupid 2000 error shit. Thank you so much for that, RD Madeira. Thank you for that 22 months. And Shimpasta, almost a year, 11 months. Whew. I'll just message them. They probably stepped away or looked away for a moment. I'll message them on. You know, everyone in chat literally skipped a heartbeat when you said they're in chat right now. I thought I saw them in chat. I messaged him in Discord, so he'll get back to me at some point. Oh, server FPS, not client FPS. Okay. Yeah, server FPS, everything breaks at 1.2 FPS. I don't know if I'm lucky, but the stability has gone way up. I have not seen a single 40K in multiple 4-hour sessions of the PTU. Nice. Anything about the Polaris in the new Galaxy, the ship update? I have to take a look at it. I haven't looked at the whole thing yet. They're appreciated, dread it, run from it, 9-hour-long data transfer still arrives. Yeah. Yeah. It's not so bad. The work like that just can be monotonous and brain melting. All right. What have you missed? Nothing. We just kind of talked a little bit about the giveaway and stuff. Actually, let me see if I can do a new giveaway real quick. Competitions. Copy. It's going to be an arrow, but like, I think at least that's what I'm going to do. This would be an arrow. Double check to make sure I have it still. I think CAG gave me an arrow for, yeah, a giveaway arrow with a Love Struck paint on it.
words. Distress bacon.
Do, 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 do. Yay, thank you, CIG, for this. Makes my life a little easier. Prices. Do. Save. Exit real quick. No, beam crowbar. All right, beam crowbar. I embrace the beam citizen. All right, beam citizen is the future. Run from it. Cry. Try to hide. You're not going to escape the beams. The beam citizen is the future. Embrace it. Go. There you go. All right, so that should all be updated now. We're good to go. March giveaway is a go.
Stunning star.
Do. I don't know what CIG is doing. Ooh. They've definitely been starting to... There seems to be a bunch of stuff that are, like, gearing up. And maybe it's just the beginning of the year stuff, but it feels different. I'm probably wrong. I'll probably be very, very pissed off at the end of the year when half this shit doesn't materialize. But... Every time you're doing these giveaways, I'm reminded of the Futurama episode where the Choose Your Own Adventure Calcutron movie where they made him do his taxes for 30 minutes. Yeah. Sorry about that. I usually try to do them a little bit beforehand, but I forgot. To be fair, Paul would have hated on any ship that won the next Great Star Citizen, but the Redeemer just happened to be the one that won. There's a couple of ones I wouldn't be as upset about, like the Brutus. I like the Brutus, but like I think any ship that would have won that competition would have had to be designed by committee, and I hate that idea because I think it's just a bad method. We all hate it. You all hate designed by committee movies and video games. You hate all of the MOBA clones that came out after Dota came out. You hated all of the the Battle Royale games that came out after PUBG came out, and then Fortnite. You hated all the modern military shooters that came out after Call of Duty. You hated all of the MMOs that came after WoW. You hated all the Doom clones that came after Doom. These chase the trend sort of video games, movies, just media in general is just a waste of everyone's time and money. No, I haven't been watching Star Trek Picard. I haven't even been watching The Mandalorian. I didn't like season 1 of Picard. I watched a couple episodes of season 2, just like, yeah, checked out. I wouldn't say they're hated. They're always compared to the pinnacle of the fill-in-the-blank genre, same as the music industry. No, I would argue they're generally disliked because they're designed by committee, designed by numbers, situations, and they're never designed with heart or passion. It's never someone's goal to produce shovelware. There's nobody in the history of the universe who sat there and said, I want to make a Michael Bay clone. I want to make an Asylum film. No one has ever said those words. Not even people who make Asylum films have ever said those words. Like, nobody does those things. Everyone who does that does it because they want money. And the people who do other projects because they have a passion for them. But you can tell those passion projects compared to the, like, insert killer app here titles out there. Like, for instance, a good example of this, Titanfall. Maybe because I'm biased because I love that franchise. But that franchise has absolutely nothing to do with anything else in the universe of, like, video games. It's part, like, Mech Warrior and Armored Core and part COD. like it's got wall running straight out of Mirror's Edge. It's got gunplay that's based off of Call of Duty, because obviously the developers were the ones who developed the original Call of Duty series, and then they left to go form Respawn. Like, there's a lot of different elements that are pieced into there, but we don't see carbon clones of Titanfall because it didn't do well financially. If it did really well, we would see them all over the place. League of Legends is a Dota clone, yes, but World of Warcraft is also a what is it? An EverQuest clone with a WoW skin on it. Yeah, what's the Nihil Nuke something the whole phrase, which is written in Latin. From Rome. Nothing new under the sun. Do we know that this month's subplayer yet? I don't think so. But, like, think about this. DayZ did pretty well, right? When DayZ did pretty well, how many survival zombie games existed after that? You could count just the sheer volume of survival zombie games. Some of them had interesting twists on it, like, say, The Last of Us. Or, Dead Island, or, what's the one? There's one that was set in the mall, and I'm blanking on it, because it was really, really good, and had a sequel, which was okay. But, like, there is some innovation, but how many, like, just generic zombie survival games existed after that? It's just so many. And that eventually spawned the Tarkov and other things like that. Not Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead 2 was better than 1, I think. Dead Rising. Thank you, Trishan. Dead Rising is what I was thinking of. And sometimes you can have decent games, but for every Forest and Sons of the Forest, you have a Raft. Or what was the one that just like recently just died off the face of the earth? There's so many. Yeah, but how many people still play Raft? Is my point. How many people? We don't see a Raft 2. We don't see people making Raft clones. Raft was an interesting idea, but it's effectively a survival sim that was based off of a number of tons of other survival games that existed in the ocean at the same time. The one that was like probably the most well-known and that probably kickstarted all of it was Subnautica. So it's those sorts of things. Scum, what's Scum still around? My point is, for even if it happens in minor genres, you know you hate it in major genres. And to bring it all back to the point, nothing good would have come out of that that competition in terms of ships. There were some great things that came out of that competition, like Elson, who now works for CIG as one of the lead vehicle creators, and a couple of other people who went to go work for CIG from the competition. But the competition wasn't designed to make ships. It was designed to get people who knew how to use CryEngine. Nope. We don't read the monthly report till the very end of the show, and we've only been here for about 30 minutes. They admitted it before, like during the competition. They admitted it was for hiring. Yeah, I mean, everyone said it. I mean, they knew at the time it was for hiring people. It was blatant about it. That's why people signed up from the community, because a lot of people wanted to work for CIG. You also got prizes and stuff like that. But it's important to note, I would say it's important to note that I do not believe anyone from the team that won who built the Redeemer stayed and worked for CIG. I think that team ended up going off and working for founding their own company or working for other companies. They may have worked for Elite at some point, but how's my night and week going? It's not great, not bad. Feel like I need to take a break again, but I'm sure a lot of that is just lack of sleep and burnout because I'm getting towards spring break. That said, I don't know how much beyond the trend was ship competition would create. It was designed to win a contest. It had nothing to do. All of those ships were designed to be appealing to the masses who would vote for them. Hey, when I saw underground facilities, I thought it was going to be bigger bunkers, but I was wrong. Did you miss the UGF discussion at CitizenCon there, Mophead? Because it was big. This is just an expansion on that, which more of a progress update. So, wife is teacher, she's in burnout. It's that time of year. I've got spring break in 2 weeks, and then it's just I just gotta survive. Objective survive. From Halo Reach situation from April through May. Luckily, May is like, for me, 2/3 of May, or no, 3/4 of May. 75% of May is just finals and preparing for finals. So I just got to get through the end of March and then April. It's going okay. I haven't been able to work out as much because of weather and other stuff, but it's going okay. Mostly maintaining, not gaining, which is a victory for right now. Now, luckily, the very beginning of May is the busy part, and then the last is just, no new assignments, all grading, helping kids catch up with assignments they've missed or getting their grades up, preparing them for finals. And then finals week is usually the week of Invictus. and I get out every day on finals week at 1:30. So usually pretty good. That's the goal, Interhype. My plan is to have a whole new suits by CitizenCon, but we'll see. They have not announced the venue for CitizenCon yet. I'm pretty sure it's the LA Convention Center, but... do you think it's worth putting the idea to CIG of possibly creating a developer training program where people can sign up to learn how to develop games that are CIG's tutelage? Of course, mainly using older CIG assets for Star Citizen. And while there may be an upfront fee, the training itself would be free, as if the trainees work for CIG for a certain amount of training. Probably not, because that's what CIG already does. But they work with tech colleges. So technical colleges that, video game colleges and other such like that have worked with CIG for a long time. And a lot of people who are currently being hired by CIG or are working for CIG that aren't like QA or like frontline employees, often were people who did internships at CIG from those colleges. So it's not really worth their time and effort. We're talking, they're already dealing with like basically supporting their own video game engine and 1,000 employees. They don't need to be a school on top of everything else. There's also about spectacle. Oh yeah. I teach economics, government, world history. In the past, I've taught psychology, not U.S. government. I've taught U.S. government, not in Texas. What else is there? Psychology, world geography, pretty much all social studies. I've taught just all social studies that existed. Probability of 318 dropping next weekend. I would prefer to drop this the same weekend as D4 beta. It's likely to drop either Friday or next week. Sometime between now and next week. I've not taught intro law, but I have taught civics. Civics and government are basically the same. What's my favorite subject? Economics. What race is this weekend? You'd have to talk to... have to talk to Atmo Esports about that. I don't know. Just apply, boy named Doll. There's plenty of positions in CIG which have nothing to do with the technical aspects of video game development that you may be available for. And if you are interested in getting becoming more technical, I know plenty of people who've worked in positions like QA or customer service who ended up working in the technical side of things for CIG. CIG hires from within all the time to fill in positions. So, and they really are willing to work if they think you're a good candidate. Question, do you teach kids how to do their damn taxes? I hate that freaking comment because it comes up every year. No, I don't teach them how to do their damn taxes because that's not what economics is about. I have told them, here's a software, go for it yourself. Because, who doesn't know how to do their own taxes? Anybody. Because tax law is intentionally very, very difficult to do. It's almost impossible for you to do it on your own, which is, and changes every year. It's impossible to teach someone how to do their taxes. That's the reason why they have dedicated tax professionals who do this sort of thing. Do I have a doctorate in thugonomics? Your favorite subject is economics. Have you watched Perun's videos too? That sounds familiar. I don't remember why I've seen it. I probably have. It's been a while. Because of lobbyists from CPAs and Agent Art blocking into it. Yeah, that's almost certainly true. Also because of the more complex the tax code is, the more loopholes there are, which is easier for wealthy people to not have to pay taxes. I'm not getting into that whole shebang, but that's less to do with economics and even business or finance, and more to do with politics. Go hire an accountant. Yeah. I do teach a lesson to the kids on why filing taxes is important, especially if you're already working, because of the whole, the government holds your money, and then, at least in the United States, the way it goes is the government holds your money and goes, you go to the government and say, how much I owe you? They say, I don't know. How much do you think you owe me? And if you guess wrong, you go to jail, which isn't actually true. As long as you're as long as you earnestly believed that was what you had, as long as you're not intentionally scamming people or trying to intentionally scam the government, no one's going to try to screw you over. Oh, yeah, no, it's the taxes in America are intentionally like very difficult to get through. Because the government knows what you owe. They've known for the entire year. They just want you, they just don't want you to get it. The other reason why they do that is because if you don't file your tax returns, then that money goes to them. They get to keep it. Even if you overpay. And that's the big thing I try to teach the kids, is more of like you've probably overpaid for your taxes because you definitely are making less than you think. The IRS is necessary. Just like any civilization, for government to function, it needs to have taxes. Those taxes are required to do all sorts of infrastructure and other things. It's just the politicians who are in charge of making the laws that deal with taxes are sus. A lot of this could be fixed. Simpler tax laws, systems that work in other countries, but the United States is allergic to change because any of those changes will either be beneficial to one side or the other in terms of the political spectrums, and they don't want to do that. That's a good segue. Shimpasta. Speaking of when will Star Citizen get taxes? When they have the Death of a Spaceman in. They're going to need to have persistence in, obviously. They'll need to have more stable code. So probably in the 4.0 branch. Almost certainly. Because if you don't know, y'all paying taxes in the Star Citizen universe. Now, they won't be taxes all the time. If you have like a persistent hab, you get like a free hangar and a free hab. But if you go to a hab, you have to pay fees on that hab that you do not own if you're renting it, or staying in it. And if you keep your ship in a hangar, you're going to have to pay money to upkeep to house your ship in that hangar. It may be an upfront cost, it may be a running cost, they don't know yet. But there will be small fees for the hangar fees, docking fees, maintenance fees, all that sort of thing. Yeah, you missed something. Aimless. You won the Scorpius. Now, does this mean you're going to have to file taxes? No, it's mostly going to be in the form of fees. Fees you have to be paid for ongoing to upkeep the facilities. So, but yeah, and you're right. Going to places like Pyro will have lower fees or no fees, but you'll also lose the safety net of living in a society. It's funny enough. It's the term outlaw, that's where that comes from. An outlaw is not somebody who is a criminal. Criminal and outlaw are two different things. An outlaw is somebody who lives outside the protection of the law. That's what the term outlaw is designed to be. It was originally originating of it. Now, often outlaws are criminals because they live outside the protection of law because they committed a crime and then left the protection of the law. So they went off to the wild places or places where civilization wasn't controlled. But an outlaw is just somebody who doesn't want to live in a society. So places like Pyro will be havens for people who don't want to have to pay fees. But you're going to have to protect yourself because you do not have the protections of the law there. So.
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Yeah, they've also specified you'll have to purchase additional insurance for operating outside the secure space. Yes.
2 words. Distress bacon.
There won't be a fee associated with sending money via MoTrader. MoTrader won't exist in some of those other areas. You'll probably have to have physical copies or something like that. ABDG. All right, because I don't know how long I'm going to have power because this big storm's coming through, and this is Texas Power Grid after all. Let's start off with the SCL or ISC.
Star Citizen is more than just a space game. As the work continues building out our first-person persistent universe of sundry stunning star systems with planets and professions and possibilities in profusion, one might suspect that the strive is set solely on spreading space-wise. But for the tight team of dedicated developers on EU Sandbox 2, one of their maturing missions is to drill deep down, descending beyond and below the barren bottoms of the beneath, to originate and occasion ongoing opportunities for exciting and edifying experiences for everyone to enter, engage, and enjoy. Yeah.
So we're building a playground where every aspect of the Star Citizen universe game is we're building a playground for all of this, not all of it. We're building a playground for I've forgotten it already.
That is me. Every time I try to record anything for videos that I'm not live for, so like all the captains, all the Astro Historian stuff, that's me. Every 5 minutes. Like,
what is
it?
Slow, irritating.
Yes.
Where?
It's a lot more difficult than you think trying to record a video from a script. You'd be surprised how much you choke on trying to do that.
Can I maybe say it another way? Playground, potential, every aspect. We're building a playground where every aspect of Star Citizen gameplay can occur. Thank you. Nailed it.
There we go.
Hello, me again. Second time, but third time for this. Giving you a bit of an update on the underground facilities. So the first time you saw them was at CitizenCon last year. Ian was going through all the concept art. Then last time and first time you saw me, I was going through the planning and all those riveting Excel sheets. This time I'm showing you where we're at, currently in production. We're midway through White Box, and you know, this for us is a good phase for locking down where we're at and where we want to go. It shows us that, you know, we can play the spaces and you'll see that they are quite big, but our intention is to fill them
big.
And missions that we could have.
Quite big. That's a fucking understatement. They're underground cities. I knew that when we were watching, when I watched the what was it? I'm blanking on the name. CitizenCon, when we watched this at CitizenCon, I'm like, these are not underground facilities. These are underground cities.
Kind of go along the lines.
White box is before gray box. It's the early planning out phases. Gray box is when they have some stuff rendered and some stuff like made.
Yes, you've got.
So it's the first step in making it to put it in the game.
Your delivery missions, but also, you know, maybe you're seeking out and protecting a VIP. Maybe you're assassinating a VIP. Maybe you're doing a bit of a heist. Maybe you're just
Hitman.
mining or resource collection. Basically, anything that exists currently in the Star Citizen universe and what's to come will also be in here. So try and keep that in mind when we're playing through the spaces. But aside from that, yes, everything is work in progress, so things will change. Just want to get that disclaimer out there now. But I hope you enjoy and seeing where we're up to. Okay, so here we are on Pyro 3. Now we'll just place the UGF here for the moment, just so we can test it on a planet and not worry about it accidentally going into the game before it needs to. And I'm gonna take you in. Now, please ignore my flying skills. They're not the best. I'm just here for doing environments.
We'll talk about that here in a moment.
As you can see, it's quite a large structure on the surface of a planet. There are hangars here. You can land on landing pads. We're thinking about how, you know, the function of the...
What is with CIG and their megastructures? There's not a single like small building outside of the outposts that exists in the Star Citizen universe. Everything like an underground facility is the size of like a small town. Like the scale is massive in the Star Citizen universe.
The place.
This is Pyro.
So as you can see, it's quite a formidable structure. Hangars on either side, land.
Fun fact: this is where the Prophet of Pyro is in Pyro 3.
In pads, so you can move your cargo back and forth. But for us, we're going to just land, hopefully, on the top.
Yeah, this is Squad for the music.
Oh my god, I am really butchering this flight.
Prophet or Prophet? Yes, Darsh. Yes. Like he's just butchering it. He's doing it better than most players do.
There we go.
We will definitely see different variations.
So let's get out of this Pisces. Now, as we go in, there are going, like I said before, there's lots of work in progress stuff. There's going to be things clipping in and out. Try to look past that and to what it is we're actually showing. It is still work in progress at the end of the day. So right now we're just dismounting in front of our lobby. If we're on a planet with no atmosphere, we've got these airlocks that you can
It takes a facility to raise a citizen.
The main lobby area.
So here's some things to point out here. You notice that most of this stuff is untextured, but they're using assets that already exist in Star Citizen now, stuff that's finished to fill it out. Sometimes they replace those assets once they go back in and go to the actual final stage. But as you will see through all of this, almost everything works. Doors, windows, all of the things generally work that need to work for being able to play. It just looks like ass because it's not got its final overview. That shows you how much stuff they reuse. Everything gets reused in video game development, let alone in Star Citizen. It just happens. Do you think we'll see UGFs on ArcCorp? Probably not. We'll probably see them on Microtech and on Hurston and, of course, the Moons. But I think we'll see a lot of UGFs in Pyro 3 because Pyro 3 was a massive mining complex for Pyrotechnical Amalgamated. And I do believe that if they do it right, they will have underground facilities which are completely abandoned in Pyro, which connect to mines, to connect to caves, effectively.
And in we go.
I want to play this game bad, but I do not have a $5,000 to get a PC that can run it. Star Citizen doesn't require that much, but it does require some pretty hefty stuff. The basic requirements I would suggest anybody who's interested in Star Citizen is a good SSD, 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM, a modern-ish graphics card. I have a 2070 Super, which is 2 generations old. It runs fine. Star Citizen runs fine on it, but I wouldn't like the 1080 would be pushing it in terms of its performance. You probably need something a little bit more than that. And the CPU is the big one. A CPU, which is a more modern CPU. The better the CPU, the better performance you'll get. You can do okay on mid-range CPUs, but higher-end CPUs is probably more important than GPUs. So I would say a typical cost, at least right now, to buy Star Citizen or to buy a rig that could run Star Citizen, outside of the video card, you're looking at less than $1,000. But with the video card, you're looking at probably $2,000, almost $2,000. And if you're talking about like computer screens and keyboards, yeah, it's about $2,500, about $2,500.
Okay, so we're in now, kind of our lobby we'll get into. Here it is. So this, when you first turn up to the UGF.
This looks cool as shit.
And your rep is, rock bottom, you're going to come here first. And this is kind of the introduction to whatever company owns the UGF. And you'll be getting some missions from in this place, but you can see it's quite going for that brutalist structure, but having all this glass kind of makes it so you can kind of let the outside in a way. And you can see by looking out these windows, we can kind of take a look at kind of, again, the expanse of the structure. And I think in the background over here, that's indeed, that is another UGF. So like I said, it's quite a big thing on the surface of the planet, which is awesome. So in here, this is not just a through space. We're going to have some offices on the back. And all of these, there's going to be some alternate routes that you can take, but we're building up all these spaces like it's a living, breathing.
I see a lot of people saying 1080 works fine. 1080 would be pushing it. That's what I'm saying. Like 1080 is on the bottom end of something I would suggest someone get if they're trying to build a PC now to run Star Citizen. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Besides, I don't think you can find 1080s anymore. Maybe 1080 Ti's, but you're probably better chance of finding and getting a decent price for like 2070s or 3070s. So
area. Definitely more corporate focused on this top level. Now let's make our way down into the UGF itself, because that's what this thing's for. So you get the limbo elevator down, and that brings us to this kind of pedestrian entry area. And this is where we're going to have some weirdness.
Oh,
and
there
then
you go.
it clips into our main top of the elevator room, which you can see over there, which is lovely. Let's just make our way through. So this is the top elevator room. Again, there's kind of access to the outside, there's access to side rooms and other rooms from here. But essentially, this is where you're going to be in order to get downstairs. You have to come to a room like this. I'm just going to kind of walk you through it and go to our cargo office.
Here's one problem I have with this. Every level is accessible only by elevator. That's a recipe for disaster. If CIG wants the UGFs to work, they're going to need to make sure that elevators are crisp. That's just not possible right now.
Lots to do, lots of people milling about, lots of space to, to do things. So in we go.
45-degree elevator, there should be stairs next to them. There should be if there aren't. But also to get even to that area, you have to go through a traditional elevator. So
this is our version of our cargo office.
Hey,
so you
cargo
get
deck.
delivery missions from here. You could buy items, but a lot of our rooms are going to feature this kind of door with pedestrians on either side, and that's just so that we've got that kind of functionality throughout the space where things will be moving around and really
I'm paying for
the
escape ladders. Yeah.
pedestrians want to be out of the way type of thing. Let's just have a look into the space itself. Everything's controlled by this kind of observation tower. For us, we're going to head downstairs.
Power being
can
held
do
back
that
by
quite
elevators
quickly.
confirmed.
On these kind of smaller pedestrian elevators.
Might I note, this is the first time we've seen them do elevators like this since Grimhex. There are no elevators that are physicalized elevators in Star Citizen outside of Grimhex. If you can think, there's a couple actually. No, there's just one in Orison though. But that's, I guess that counts. There are very few. CIG is very hesitant to do this sort of stuff, and this is like a major part. Oh no, I guess the bunker missions do as well. Problem is the bunker missions break all the time.
So away we go.
What's with sci-fi so filled with 45-degree elevators? Because they let you show off. It's a cheap way of showing off change. So like if you're going down in a 45-degree angle, the cameras can capture in more panoramic views so you can see more. Whether if you're going straight down, you can't see how far you're going down. But if you're a 45-degree angle, usually you're open up on one side and you can see everything moving, so you can get that sense of movement. And in video games, that's very important, especially since all of these elevators always come with some sort of wave boss levels where things are falling from the sky or flying at you from different levels, and you have to kind of fight them off. That's the point of them, is to give you a sense of verticality and movement.
Now the depth of
my point is that CIG is very hesitant. They've been very hesitant to do it. I think the most recent one that they've added was the Orison elevator. That's the central elevator, and that's the only one that I can think of. But since Levski had been pulled, CIG has not really done these very much.
the first sub-level is going to change in every UGF. No, that's going to be procedurally generated, a lot like the rooms as well. Oh, and the elevator's just kind of moving back up. Now you could take the cargo elevator down, that's fine, but that's going to be fully automated, whereas these pedestrian elevators are going to be more independent, and faster as well. So you can see that disappearing up to the top.
I can definitely imagine these elevators in the Hurston CBD.
So this is our bottom of the elevator room. So again, nice big space, very functional. There's going to be, things loaded on and off. And then this gives us kind of access to the rooms, or the wings on either side, I should say. So as we release more content for this, you're going to get more expansive wings, different themes, that kind of thing. Now the doors here are...
That's the Squad 42 theme right there. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do.
bit misaligned. Again, work in progress. And this is a security checkpoint. So hopefully you've got the right credentials. You're going to get checked, you're going to get scanned. But what if you haven't got those credentials? Well, there are alternate routes in. Down here that you can see there's a little hatch, so maybe you're sneaking your way under the floor, or are you making your way over the top on piping? Multiple ways in. So again, we're in a bigger room now. In the white box, it's really good to just call out, yes, your alternate routes, yes, your main path, but also where can you get on and off of those? What's rock, what's metal, what's a feature, what isn't? Because if we can call that out now, it means that we're giving people more information as they go into the next phase. Again, so this is just an example of maybe a rock room, which kind of just links two rooms together. Maybe there's some storage.
Remember, the goal of this is to make these into
just jump over
little
this
modules. They're designed to put these into little modules, and then as they're making these little modules, I just noticed this. I think he's actually playing, or is he recording? Is it recording? Chat, what is that right there? Hold on. What is that right there? Is that recording or is he playing music? It looks like he's playing music. He's recording his desktop. Okay. I thought the music may be coming in from the game capture itself, but yeah. Okay, with the security check situation, will they add the security checkpoints to spaceports using the same template? Yes. Because we already have those templates. They already exist in game. If you look at the game right now, if you go into any security, any point, you have to walk through a big sort of tube thing in small security checkpoints. They just aren't activated yet. But yeah, they've existed for a while.
Got to put stairs in. Over to the other side. And these are kind of our biggest doorways, but I'm not going to go down this, but we're going to have smaller doors into the space.
Nice.
So in here, it's kind of like, well, where do these lead? We're going to have to wait for that, I'm afraid. So that one up there, that's where you'd kind of navigate to each room through the ceiling. So we're back
through the
in that
ceiling?
big room from before. Now, when the rooms are this big, we can do a bit more with them. So there's an area out the back here. There's, rooms and maybe even some control points. So what if this bridge, I know it's a little blurred over this chasm, what if you could retract that back and forth? What if it's not even there? How are you going to make your way across?
None of the stations have any of the security. There's only landing zones do. If the question was what do they do with stations? Stations are completely different. There is no security point. Oh, there is a little bit of security points for regular stations, but that's another reason why Port LSR is going to get removed because it doesn't have that system. So
that's not for me to decide. It's for you as the player when you're getting in and out to decide. But for the moment, we're just going to make our way through. Yeah, if you fall down there, you're probably going to die. So watch out for those kind of things. But there are still, hopefully you can find your way on these main routes. Some side rooms you could play, but then also, this bit's under construction now, but I wonder what it's going to be in the future. And, having all these spaces kind of to this level of detail, it's really rough, as you can see, but I'm walking around unhindered. I can step up and down this thing. I can see where kind of a building might be or where we could have mission spawners, or maybe that's where you need to get to. You've got this main route, but we've also considered the alternate route. So if you're sneaking in, where can you go? And this is kind of predominantly, well, actually, having said that, there's pipes up there, so you could go from the ceiling or you could go underneath. And then how do you sneak around?
They're doing the Mission Impossible route where you can climb through air ducts.
What if people are down there and they spot you? You've got to kind of...
PR move, does that mean an updated station above Crusader? Probably. That's we'll talk about that when he talked to us about Seraphim Station. I think that's going to be the replacement for Port All-Star.
Contend with that. And then this is more of a hero room at the moment. This is like a warehouse. So this is same level of detail as the rest that we've just walked through, but the lighting's had a bit of a better pass on it. We're midway through this white box process at the moment. Things can change still. Maybe the alternate route is where that guy in red is down there, but if you fall down that one, you might end up breaking your legs. All of these containers, maybe the straddle frames are moving things around. Potentially, if you're on a mission where you want to steal something, maybe it's one.
Do you think people will get Machiavellian literature, or get as in like understand Machiavellian literature and similar better when they've played Star Citizen a little, experiencing firsthand the contract of society or social contract. That's not really Machiavellian, it's more Hobbesian, but Machiavellian is much more, human social dynamics and stuff like that. But yeah, but I think Star Citizen is also going to have a lot of safety rails, a lot of NPC protections for players, especially if they don't want to interact in that kind of stuff. But I do think there's a lot of people who don't know how a social game like Star Citizen is designed to be will work, and have this flawed understanding that Star Citizen is a power fantasy, which it's not.
In one of those containers.
Hopefully they'll have a few of these that will be abandoned. Yes, they already are working on some of those. They just want to do the base versions first. They've even have some concept images, which they've started
sandbox within a sandbox, you could say. What I do like about this room is that you've got these straddle frames. Why not get onto the top of them and get to the cabin? Also, when you're in the depths of the room, it's kind of like you've got these big piles of crates.
Yeah.
Maybe you're sneaking between them. Maybe you're rifling through the contents of one and then trying to get out. So there we go. That's where we're currently at. Like I said, we're midway through White Box. We've got a bit of time left to polish these rooms up and get the rest done. We're more or less at about 17 rooms, and then each of those rooms will have 2 overlays. So plenty of content for this initial release. Hope you enjoyed it.
17 rooms. Remember, they build these like stations. So they're like Lego bricks. They'll have them and they'll arrange them in different ways so they can make them more unique and different each ones. And he said they will each have 2 overlays. Overlays is a system that CIG has not developed. That's what they call the overlays is a system that we've seen in other things, which basically takes the same space and then redresses it entirely differently based off of what you need to. So in theory, you could have 17 rooms, and all of these rooms have a functional and a derelict state. So you could have some rooms which are derelict and some rooms that are functional, as if like people have abandoned that room from that it's like a blocked off old section of the mining facility. Or you can have the whole facility existing and that kind of stuff. So that's pretty good. That's huge. And those facilities are humongous, and they can just clip them back together. Like think about the space stations, how that works. Similar idea. And the same thing with caves.
So what did we learn?
I like the Pico one this year. This one, the golden Pico.
This week? Well, we learned that the new underground facilities are making their way through the pipeline from concept to planning to white box, with the intention to make their debut on the planets of Stanton and Pyro and beyond. That the procedural assembly of a multitude of room types will enable nearly every aspect of Star Citizen's current gameplay to occur inside them. And that even though they told me not spaceships, I'm never gonna not bet on the Star Citizen community. I believe in you. Now remember,
we'll get a spaceship down there, Jared. Don't worry about it. It'll happen within the first 5 minutes of the thing being live to players.
Remember, the Alpha 318 is available now to all players on OpenPTU. So check that out for more on Star Citizen's next major release. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week.
Maybe I have too much faith in y'all, but I maybe not 5 minutes, but within the day of those being out there, someone's going to find a way of sticking a spaceship in there. Now we're seeing almost gray box. Well, they said they're still early on in the white box process, but that process, we don't know when this was recorded. Seeing previous episodes being recorded in January and sometimes can take up to 2 months for them to finish an ISC. That footage that we just saw of him walking through there could have been recorded in January. It's March. We'll probably see a little bit more about this when we look at the monthly reports to give you a better example, but you're seeing a lag time. ISC has a lag time of between 2 months and 2 weeks. Are these UGFs supposed to support FPS gameplay? Yes. It makes no sense that these things support bunker missions. It's like a small gang attacking Area 51. Not sure how Ninetales are supposed to sneak in. The thing is that facility you saw is not like the bunker missions we have now. it is more of a single section. And that is also what they call a large UGF. They're planning on also doing medium and small UGFs that they'll do eventually. So this is just their first attempt at the new UGFs. They'll take this, what they learn, and they'll either scale it down or scale it or change it around. Like that landing facility is like at the top, may be smaller in the future. So we may see something more like underground facilities in the future. But yeah. Really off topic, do you use only Windows in your life? Just in case we could be surprised that Mac is part of a creative process. Yeah, I only use Windows. I don't mind Mac. Mac, I just didn't grow up with it. I grew up with Windows, so. Holy shit, it's March. Yeah. It's the second day of March. This might make it to 3.19x patch. Probably not, because 3.19.x would be sometime in, June, July. I would expect this to, at the earliest, be in 3.20, if there's a 3.20 patch, which I'm almost certain there will be, because we're not going to see a 4.0 this year. I would not count on it in any way, shape, or form. I'd expect 4.0. I expect a 3.20, and that to be the last patch, and then 4.0 to be in PTU. Maybe like Evocati or first wave PTU in like the same time we had 3.18. If we saw that footage 2 years ago with that number of devs and tools, what would your initial impressions? Probably the same as I have now. So more likely 3.20 around September. My guess would be August, September, or probably not even that. Probably October, November. 3.20 might be the IAE patch. Third of the third here in Australia. Yeah, but you're in the future, Black Norton. You're in the upside down. That doesn't count. It's like a different dimension down there. All right, I'll be right back, y'all. If you're watching this on YouTube, mute your headphones, because Twitch chat's gonna go crazy.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy. I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
This moment that he knew. Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw. Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
I'm pilot.
2 words. Distress.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Weapons free, y'all.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
I muted you. Stop. Stop wasting your money. Stop wasting your beers. See, a round of beers came in. Whoop. Let's do that. All right. Abort, mission abort. It's your channel points, so the fact that you dole them out to us just shows you expect us to spend them. Yes, I do. Well, the stuff uses pub coin, not beers. Beers is different, but yeah. All right, so before I continue on, I will say, just to kind of point out a point right now, to illustrate a point, I should say. I released the roadmap, the February roadmap, Star Citizen roadmap update video today, or yesterday. And I released it at about 5 o'clock my time. So about a day and 4 hours ago. It is currently right now at 1.3 thousand views, which is very, and compare that to the video, to the last Captain's Table, which was out, which was released 2 weeks ago. The discussion section, the podcast portion, has 864 views. The Q&A section has 935 views. So we're looking at a difference of close to 500 views in only a day. And it'll probably end up being closer to like 1.6 to 2K views. So when I was mentioning earlier that I needed to change stuff about the Captain's Table, that's what I mean. Is that like the Captain's Table is very, very, very susceptible to the droughts, the Star Citizen droughts. And it's not so bad if we have a couple of Captain's Tables which are bad, but it does hurt the Twitch algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, in terms of if videos get recommended. In the process of those 3 videos being released, I went from an average of about 200 people subscribing to the channel in every 28 days to about 150. So the average dropped about 50 people just from those 3 videos bombing. So no, the 2 I've talked about before, one was an hour and a half. The last one was 42 minutes, the roadmap update, and the discussion section of that Captain's Table is about the same length as the February roadmap update. Almost the same distance, the kind of length. And my monthly reports, which are often some of the best videos I do, are an hour, the 30 to 50 minutes. They're about the same length in terms of the full time. So I scared them away from the Captain's Table. No, it wasn't you, Celine. It was just it's a matter of just we don't have a lot of content to go over, and I made some bad decisions on topics. That's what it was. It's 20 years since Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, SSX3, Beyond Good and Evil, and Star Wars KOTOR came out. Feel old yet? No? I mean, I already felt old. I teach for a living. You know how to meditate? Yeah. Yeah, it's 318 fatigue, but it illustrates a wider point, which is every time CIG hits a rut, unless I am absolutely firing on all cylinders by choosing topics which are good, it will start to hurt the channel overall if I continue to do it like that. However, if I do what I'm doing right, or what I'm planning on doing starting this weekend, which is, by the way, I've got to check something real quick, because I don't think I have it this weekend. I think it's the next weekend, but so I may have to scramble to get some people here, but what is it called? So that's not until March 18th. So that's in 2 weeks. So the 4th and the 11th I'll have open. So I'll try to get some people. In fact, I'll make a content right here. 2 seconds. Sorry, y'all. Bing. Boom. Done. There we go. There you go. Why is there 80 people and why did you shut the stream has 18 likes? Hey, you know. Hey, RB, thank you. What topics have we missed? We talked about the underground facilities. Now, I do want to emphasize why UGFs are important, because UGFs are an example of CIGs using tools to flesh out the universe more. The more we get things like UGFs, we'll start to see things like different sizes of UGFs, probably towns, outposts, smaller cities. We'll likely see facilities, like other types of facilities. A lot of people have already pointed out that there's a high likelihood we'll see asteroid facilities. So there's a lot of options which CIG can go with to diversify this content, and it's all using the same effective tech as space stations, which is the same thing that was used for caves, which is now the same thing that's being used for UGFs. So maybe a large captain table with like a bunch of people. Yeah, I've done that before. It's a terrible idea. In fact, in the main IT subreddit, someone student walked up to him and asked him if he was into vintage gaming, and he could fix his vintage handheld and pulled out a Game Boy SP. Made me feel like dust. Kids in middle school. Eh. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that a lot of people are also surprised that UGFs look great, because when I saw them at CitizenCon, I was like, I knew exactly what this was. I'm like, CIG, you are absolute insane. But it makes sense. CIG, the development team at CIG, the people who are building the game, are building this with, there's a mantra that you'll hear them saying. We'll see this in the monthly report, which is scalability. Will this scale? They are never going to build anything anymore that is bespoke if they don't have to do it. Bespoke meaning only for one thing. Everything is going to be a tool that's going to be utilized by 10 different things if they can make sure it works. Why? Because it makes it easier to develop from that tech. Yeah, not handcrafted. It's always going to be even hero locations. I think eventually we will see CIG landing locations. We'll always see CIG building landing locations with maybe a single hero location that's kind of centralized, but proc gen everything else. There are some hero locations which are bespoke in the sense that they are only existing, like for instance, Synth World. When that gets into the game in 50 years or whatever, that's going to be a specific location which only exists in one location. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is a couple of specific hero items and everything else is just proc gen. God, good to see you bespeaking about bespokeness. Get bespoke. Stay bespoke. Earth will probably be bespoke. Yeah, no, it's probably going to be proc gen as well. I mean, they'll definitely make the continents like we have them, we understand them, but you're not going to be flying anywhere on Earth. I can almost guarantee you that you are not going to be flying anywhere on Earth or Mars. You will almost certainly be stuck to landing paths when you're going into landing. And any deviation from the landing paths, you either risk crashing into other ships or getting blown out of the fucking sky. Ask any pilot about trying to fly around major cities like DC or London. without permission, you're going to see a lot of panicked people very quickly, especially after 9/11. Spider could be bespoke, yeah. But I almost certainly what we'll see with Spider is them using procedurally generated trash stations, like the stations we'll see in Pyro, or procedurally generated wrecks that they're doing, and then sticking them together. Yeah, we're likely going to see flight paths for places like ArcCorp and Hurston. All of the landing zones that we have in game will probably have flight paths, save for outlaw locations. But is Synthworld a shell with grav plates or a giant lump of dust? You mean? We don't know. From the images they've showed and the way they've talked about it, it's like a planet-sized station. So, like, you have a core, which will be like a giant fusion reaction, and then you'll have levels that go out to the skin of the planet itself, and each of those levels will be habitable, maybe used for assembly or for hydroponics or other uses. The idea being taking what would normally only be a single layer on a planet, and then giving it multiple layers with like ways of going up and out, and even giving the exterior of the synth world its own atmosphere. So you have a full planet plus layers. So you have effectively something like 4 or 5 planets in the space of one. It doesn't move like a Death Star though. It's designed to be built in an orbit and then stay there. Except for if ArcCorp had layers that went all the way down to its core of those cities. But the problem is, it doesn't work. They fucked it up so many times. They can't keep, the gravitational portions keep ripping it apart. It doesn't have enough stuff. Yeah, we had to watch ISC. It's pretty cool. Definitely give it a watch if you're interested in the future of FPS combat. And of like, it's not just FPS. It's important to note that those facilities are going to be designed for the investigation missions going forward. They'll be designed for like assassinations and bounty hunting missions. They'll be designed for like heist missions and stealth missions. There's a bunch of different mission types which will go well with that. That's all right. A name so long to annoy anyone. What's the Titan suit in the title? We'll talk about it here in a moment. Because there is an update to Titan suits that was in the monthly report. Now, I think it's only in Squadron 42, but we'll talk about it a little bit because I'll break my rule about not going over Squadron 42 because it is pretty cool. Yeah, I'll have to look it up in the report. We'll talk about that here in a moment. In fact, let's look at that right now. So, there it is. All right. All right, so this is in the animation section. And it says, background AI was developed for sick characters, medical wards, and emergency exits from object use. The team also worked on the Castak Arms sniper rifle and began reviewing the first pass of the Titan animation rig. So, for those of you who don't know what the Titan is, right here, the Titan animation rig. This is the Titan suit. Now, the Titan suit, so I had an idea for a mod for, or was this? What happens when CIG changes the bottom module on the Redeemer to a Titan drop pod holder, Paul? I hate it still. I'll still not do it. So it's Virgil that are confirmed to make those. As far as I understand, yes, Virgil is the one who makes the Titan suits, which makes sense. So if they're now just working on the Titan suit, how the hell they were going to release Squadron 42 back in 2016? It's a good question. The answer is that the thing that stopped Squadron 42 from being released in 2016 wasn't the Titan suit. It was the fact that the entire game got upended and they were going to be using procedural landing. So basically everything that was being worked on or was theorized, because the Titan suit did have some initial kind of stuff worked on it. And let me show you what I mean. This is the Reddit post right here. This was posted in 2019. I believe this was posted. This is the Titan suit. This concept art is likely older than 2019. That's when they actually announced it. From 2019 was right around the same time as they're doing Squadron 42 update stuff. And there were also, let me see if there's some other stuff. Here we go. This is from a year ago. I don't remember where this is from. Oop. No, boy. It's not there. Yeah, this is the Class 9 suits, what they're going to change it from. But, yeah, so a lot of this stuff had initial concept passes. Like this, I believe, was sometime in 2017, 2016 is when this was released. The early concept. It may have been a little bit later. But a lot of these ideas were already being concepted because one of the things they had to do was change the entire layout of space stations to allow for Titan suits to operate in there because they were too small. So like Port Olisar and stuff like that, which is why they had to redo the space stations again. That was in 2017. But before they could get a lot of this stuff done, they had to throw out everything they had been working on to completely change how missions work, because they had to do procedurally landing on planets, which is the same problem that happened before. Hold on, this... When was this posted? It's 2018. So yeah, it looks like it was 2018 was when we saw a lot of these updates. When was this posted? Oh, this was just posted 2 days ago. 30 days ago. So the point being, yeah, and that's how it works. So to give you some ideas of how this whole thing is supposed to work, you stand in and control. And so like these, the what is it? I can't remember. Like the more animal-like legs are not your full legs. Those are just the walkers. You stand at about 9 to 10 feet tall in one of these things. So effectively, and this is something that CIG will never admit to, they got procedural landing to work, and it caused them to effectively have to throw out all of their work in the 2.0 branch and anything they'd done for Squadron. Now, they probably kept some things around, but like a lot of the missions had to be reworked to include landable planets and all that sort of thing. So it's more of an exoskeleton. So if CIG had was able to continue on with the development without having with procedural or like landing through cutscenes and stuff like that, we probably would have seen it come in 2017. I don't think that Star Squadron 42 would have actually released in 2016. I think it was probably more likely to be a delay to like a 2017, 2018 release, because it's a Chris Roberts game anyways. But it didn't help that the procedural landing kind of screwed everything up. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, right? So you can't just get into... I think this is more of a testing and diagnostics situation. Not necessarily like they had to like you can see like them fixing it up over here on the left and they're kind of pulling up some diagnostic stuff. I'm assuming that the way they'll make it work is that it'll actually collapse down. Like your front will kind of... The back will kind of... will like lower down to the ground, so you're kind of more flat as a square, and the suit will kind of collapse down onto like those legs, so it's actually more like, say, like a 6 foot tall, and you step in to get in, climb in, and then the kind of the cockpit closes around you. Oh, speaking of Portal, I can't wait for you to get to the part where they names the station. That won't spoil the report. That won't spoil from the report. I've already talked about it a little bit, but yeah, we'll talk about Seraphim. What do you think the next big roadblock is in the way of Squadron 42? The game? Squadron 42 is, as we'll talk about next week, seems to be in a state where they're finishing up large sections to some degree. We're not in the point where Squadron 42 is done, but we're rapidly approaching the point where I'm fairly certain that CIG will put it into a beta state. Meaning like it's content finished. Hey, Loken. Did we get a raid from Loken and I didn't see it? Because I'm a jackass. Oh, it's rated XV. Thank you so much for that Prime sub, my man. Hey, Loken. How you doing, buddy? Another round of beers. Another round of beers. Is the spec suit coming in the game? Yep. This is designed to come in the game. Now, to keep to keep like expectations low, this is a Squadron 42 creation. It will be available in Star Citizen, just like everything else in Squadron 42. However, it won't be until after Squadron 42 this is released. Why? Because this suit has specific, let's say, spoilers involved with it. It's a suit that is heavily involved in the game's story, not necessarily the creation of it or anything else but like it's like the Idris or the Javelin, where they don't want to release it because A, it won't work. B, there's a lot of sections of the ship they want you to explore in Squadron. Similar concept. Some stuff you'll see only in that. And then CR decides to add 60 more features, yeah. I'm doing all right. I'm tired, but I think I'm reaching burnout levels for work is all. And then CH's not helping. You're going to need a ship that's specifically built to transport and deploy these exoskeletons? Probably not, because I think these things will probably collapse down Like, for instance, if we pull this up, let me put my cursor on there so you can see this. So this area right here, these, you can see where this stands. I have a feeling that this will bend backwards and down to the ground, and this will go down forwards. You can see these kind of rail systems right there designed, so that you will be able to descend down to the ground, and then the arms will be able to collapse in on itself. So it'll be able to sort of miniaturize itself to the point where it's about the same size as a person. But you could easily fit this in an A2. Probably fit hundreds of these in an A2, actually. But yeah, there's actually some mentions of that in the lore piece on Virgil, which I'm going to do a video on for maybe not Saturday, maybe we'll see. Where you'll actually see where they actually talk about industrial versions of this this armor being created. So. How is it different to teach a classroom compared to hosting a double platform stream? Very different. Question, when will you get Imitation Tina on Captain's Table? At some point. I don't know. Will I get it? Sure. I'll have to ask. The issue is right now is that like I just don't have a lot of people interested in it. Warframe does proc gen fine, but the handcrafted facilities in Planetside 2 are really something else in the larger scale battles. 20 minutes behind. The large amount of proc gen does have me concerned that level map design will suffer. Probably not, because you got to remember that because this isn't made specifically procedurally generated in the sense that like it's just like click a button in generations. What they're doing is they're building parts and then they're having it auto generate, and then they're going in and kind of moving things around if they need to. So instead of having to hand build all of these sites, these things, they can click their fingers, they build out the parts, they snap their fingers, it generates, and then they can just click and move like Lego pieces, or move and change them around to different positions as they need to. So it's procedurally assisted, not necessarily procedurally generated. Yeah, that's the other thing people have talked about is what if Titan suits could replace a bomb and say like an A1? It's like, I don't know, maybe. We'll have to see. Yeah, it's very different to teach versus in the classroom versus doing online streaming. With teaching, it's a lot of circulating around the room, trying to check up on anybody, making sure everyone's doing good, and varying that with letting students just learn, and versus doing a lecture or doing an activity. There's, trying to do different learning styles and such. It can be a lot more exhausting because it's also repeating the same thing over and over again every day, often for 2 days in a row. Plus a lot of paperwork. Streaming is a little bit different. Yeah, there's some repetition involved, but it's a lot more of, I can swear more. Carpal tunnel of the brain? What are you talking about there, Kasumi? Oh, by repeating a bunch? It can be pretty exhausting, yes. Basically, in streaming, he doesn't care if we're okay. That's not true. It's true to the sense that I don't have the same responsibility with y'all as I do with my kids. It's not my job to keep you engaged and teaching you stuff that is important that you'll be tested on. My job is to just do what I want to do, and you might be able to learn if you're interested and engaged. That's about it. So what if we do be in beta by CitizenCon? That's what I hope anyways. I agree. I'm fairly, that's definitely in my like injection of hopium right there, that we're going to see Squadron 42 be announced as in beta by CitizenCon. And with an announcement of a release date at CitizenCon. That is my big hope. But hopes are meant to be destroyed, because CIG is good at that. This year's CitizenCon, yes. That doesn't mean release. It doesn't mean players will get to play a beta. The beta state is just basically like, hey, it's finished. We're finished adding shit to it. We're now going to go through and polish it and make sure it's good and change level designs around, change the lighting, change like the process upon which, and test the shit out of it to make sure it's fun and works. Not just add basic things like save game functions. Is this the new armor form from the movie Black Hole? No, that's this is armor for Star Citizen, for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. The only thing that gets tested in this stream is my patience. Yes. I used to do quiz stuff, and it never went well. No one actually did anything. Beta's feature complete needs polish. Yeah. Effectively, the game is finished in the sense that they're not adding basic features to the game in beta stage. They may add some new features because it's not necessarily completely feature complete, but all of the basic features are done. So you're saying is that we may be playing a finished version of Squadron 42 before Star Citizen gets into beta? I'm telling you, you will be playing a finished version of Squadron 42 before Star Citizen gets to beta. I can guarantee that. Like, there's no way that Star Citizen gets to beta before Squadron 42 gets out. Squadron 42 is going to go live within a year to 2 years of its announcement. You thought it was looked like the robot Maximilian from the movie Black Hole? I don't think I've seen it. How dare you make me think? Just yell information into my brain. I had an idea, but what if Synthworld got completed with the help of Leilani legalized AI, and the AI turns evil? Also, there's cyborg space squids. That's a jump in the last part there, Crystal. So Star Citizen release before the heat death of the universe? Possibly. My guess is that CIG currently is shooting for fall winter of 2024, but is more likely to release in the spring or fall of 2025. Odds of Squadron 42 Part 2 before Star Citizen beta? I honestly think that we will see the second part of Squadron 42 at the same time that Star Citizen stops wiping. Stops becoming a hygienic and just does the soft release. I think that'll probably be what we'll see. When's the next Imperator election? 23, right? So 7 years. Yeah, the mech suit. Lots of games have mech suits, but a lot of people have been looking forward to the Titan suit because it represents a type of gameplay that you don't really see in Star Citizen currently, which is this kind of hybrid between vehicle and FPS gameplay. And a lot of people like mech suits, myself included. So I will simp for mech suits, Zenitsu. Yeah, I don't think we'll see big walking mechs. I'd love to see it, but I don't think we're going to see it. Chris Roberts seems to be very much against it. Even Sean Tracy, the mech guy himself, in Star Citizen or in CIG, does not call the Titan suits mech suits. He calls them power armor because that's what they are. They're powered armor. But technically, all suits in Star Citizen are powered armor. So, but this is closer to something like the Fallout 4 power armor or like a 40k Space Marine power armor. It's more closely to it. You played a lot in Planetside too. Yeah, that's what they're inspired by, was the mech suits. They even talked about that the closest thing they would be similar to is the mech suits. Metal Gear. I wish, no. How do you think Portal will get a replacement? A bang or a slow decon and a replacement? I think that's a war that's going on currently inside CIG headquarters. I'm sure CIG is trying to debate that right now. Titan suit equals Battletech elemental battle armor. Yeah. But I think in functionality, it's going to be much more similar to, say, Fallout 4's power armor kind of gameplay. War. Huh. What is it good for? My wallet. Don't try to stop wars when you could invest in them. Nanomachines, son. Yeah, but I really like this. So this is definitely going to what this or this is definitely going to be the title of the thumbnail for the Squadron 42 monthly report we'll do next week. I think this will be my thumbnail for Virgil when we talk about that one. So. All right. Question, when Sol comes around, will Venus have floating Cloud City, as many today theorize could be possible? Or is Venus not colonized in Star Citizen? There's no references to Venus being colonized in Star Citizen, but I don't doubt that if CIG did Cloud City in Orison, they'd probably do something similar in Venus. But that's so far away, it's hard to tell. After Pyro, how soon could the next systems be behind? Years? Probably more like months. It's a scaling situation. This happened with ships. It's happened with like a lot of stuff in Star Citizen. Once CIG gets the tools down and gets an idea of what it takes to do what they want to do, every time they do something, it becomes faster and faster and faster. Just as you understand what you do and how to do it, it takes less and less time. So, like Nyx, for instance, I wouldn't be surprised if Nyx is released within a year of Pyro being released, if not sooner. And the next system after that in 6 months. Next system after that in 3 months, and then maybe 2 systems every 6 months, or a system every patch, or a couple systems every patch. And I know a lot of people are like, "That's insane! There's 100 systems," and I have to remind people, my guy. Most of the systems in Star Citizen are empty as fuck. There's nothing there. Like, Stanton is the exception, but I would say maybe a third of all of the star systems in the Star Citizen universe are densely populated. Most of them are empty. A great example of this is actually Hadrian, which is a system that I think will be one of the systems that'll come in the near future. Because its connection to Terra and other parts of the verse. But Hadrian has no landable planets. It has like gas giants and ice giants. So most of Hadrian is made up of space stations. We have space stations. You could do Hadrian. CIG could do Hadrian right now with the tech they have. Probably in a month. So, that's most of them. That does not mean they'll not do cities. They might do floating cities in some of them. They might add some more stuff to it. But most of Star Citizen's universe is designed to be pretty empty. Dead planets, effectively what we have with moons, maybe sparsely populated with maybe one landing zone. Very few places have more than one landing zone. And of those places, very few of them are like have multiple landing zones on multiple planets. By the way, if you played Jedi Fallen Order, are there any planets in Star Citizen lore like Zepho? What is Zepho? I played it. I don't remember the name of the planet though. Is that the one that's like the Night Sisters planet? Or is that the planet that's like the ancient temple complex? Do you think we'll have a moon base before Squadron 42 releases? No. NASA's still years away from a moon base. They're working there faster than they've ever done before, but still a long time. Venus has denser pressures than Jupiter. The kind of swampy marshy, the one with the giant storm. I'm not remembering it. With ruins. The one that's kind of, the ruins and the cities that are around it, that kind of stuff. I'm sure there are. I just don't know off the top of my head. They're probably, because the thing is that Star Citizen planets aren't monobiomed like in Star Wars. So I could imagine a handful of planets having stuff like that. Green. There's another one that I'm blanking on the top of my head, but it's a protected planet because it's got like Farron's ape or something like that. Not Farron, but like it's an ape type creature that has like rudimentary like tool gathering and building stuff that exists. But so as a result, the planet it's on is protected. Like the second planet you go to. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Almost certainly there will be. There's at least 3 or 4 different planets that I know of that would have a biome like that. Not to mention Terra. Maybe Van. In fact, if you're looking at the Icelandic planet, there's a pyro planet that has something just like that. It's the moon, I think. One of the moons of Pyro 6? I want to say the gas giant. Has almost exactly that kind of Scottish Highland like Icelandic kind of desolate but like mossy kind of situation. Question: with building interiors completely transform or will completely transform landing zones. Ours are fairly small and seem to will turn landing zones into landing cities, essentially GTA on planet. I'd hope so, but there's no confirmation of that yet. I have a feeling that it will, but it's a matter of application. It's a matter of them actually turning it to do that. Now, does that mean we're going to have like drivable cities? Probably not. We'll probably still have traversable cities still, but almost certainly not like GTA or Cyberpunk with every landing zone. But we might if CIG gets the procedural tools working right. Because the thing about the thing about landing zones is that they're a relic of a time when CIG thought that you need a cutscene to land on planets. So they're designed to be effectively levels that you could traverse and interact with people, but you wouldn't really be able to leave. You'd have to get back into your ship and fly away if you want to do it. You couldn't really explore the surface. Think of it as like a planet in like a Mass Effect game, or like Knights of the Old Republic. That kind of like where you fly down, you have a cutscene, you land, and you get out and you explore that area, and you kind of come back to your ship and fly away, sort of thing. I think every terrestrial body needs about 40 to 50 plus hours of gameplay. Well, that's where things like generation, the quantum system comes in, and procedural mission systems. That's still a couple years away, though. Yeah, they do have underground tunnels, and they do have rapid transit systems, and I wouldn't be surprised if you could walk on the surface like you can on the Orison platforms. where you can like walk on the surface of those platforms. Think about the platforms they built for Siege of Orison. Like, you took the platforms from Siege of Orison, that's a city. It's like a downtown city, but like that would be what people would want, something like that. And I can't imagine it took them more than a year to build that out. And if you had stuff like that, which was procedurally generated, and you could plop down in different locations, it wouldn't be too difficult to work it just like you have the UGFs, where you have effectively modules you can plug and play. So you can just be like plop, 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 and just kind of shape things around a little bit, and then boop, go. But the problem is, of course, all of this stuff requires technologies which don't exist yet. CIG still has to build a lot of that technology to make it work. Was it Goss? Maybe. Goss sounds about right, yeah. Dirty Bird, that sounds about right. The issue is more bandwidth, because they want to make sure that they can make content fast and fluid. Scalability. That's one of the reasons why CIG's buzzword has been scalability, because they want to make sure that anything they make can be used in multiple different ways for multiple different activities. So you're not just making HUD, you're making a procedural system that uses HUD elements that can then be crossed over to everything else with a screen. Because that makes it so that you don't have to fuck around with 15 different like bespoke assets for like screens and such, thus building blocks. So it's that sort of thing. If they're building interiors, this is not going to be, oh, well, it's just for this city. No, that building interior, those sets will be sets, building Lego blocks, dungeon kits as they call them, that you can then just populate everywhere. So in theory, they could make every single building have an interior. The entire game, every building have an interior, in theory. Any possibility for books in game with fictional lore stories soon? Possibly. They talk about it in this monthly report. Future proofing of the game's lifespan. It's also just to make it easier to build. Because like CIG could have all of the tools finished and ready to go, have all of the gameplay aspects wrapped up, and I would say 3 to 4 years. We're probably going to see a beta state in somewhere between 2025 and 2026, would be my guess. Considering the current pace of development, if there's not some other major issue that pops up. That doesn't mean that they'll have every system in the game, but it means that you'll have all of the basic foundational features working and running with all of the gameplay loops, all that sort of thing, functioning in some way, shape, or form. At that point, you want to be able to deliver a ton of content, and you're going to need to have tools that will be able to distribute that content quickly. All right. Hey, how about Cookie? Thanks so much for that subscription. Hit the wrong button. The Busty Vandal made. Well, technically, all of the stories we have right now that are in serialized fiction, that's all in-game fiction. It's all fiction in-game as well. Like Lost Generation, to Cassandra's Tears, Kid Crimson. Those are all fictional. They're not real in the universe. They're just fictional stories. So Squadron 42 beta with Squadron 40, Star Citizen beta with Squadron 42 release. I wouldn't be surprised if CIG announced that they will be planning on entering beta, or they're in the beta, getting close to beta stages with Squadron 42 release. Though I don't think we'll see Squadron 40 Star Citizen beta. I think we'll see a Squadron 42 release before Star Citizen beta. Anything on pets, by the way? Not really. There's a bunch of stuff on creatures in this monthly report, but we'll talk about it. I'm gonna get some more water, and I'll be right back. And when I do, we'll do the read through because I'm getting a little tired. What if the supposed replacement for All Star being mentioned? This report would be going to Stanton into Stanchion in Squadron 42, or watching it being built in Squadron 42. Possibly. I don't think so though. There will be probability we discover new systems also. Obviously, but I don't think CIG is going to build those systems out until they have a good idea of what those will be. All right. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact or watching this on Twitch, Twitch is about to go crazy, so enjoyed that. You talk, come back.
Weapons free, y'all.
Drugs.
Weapons free, y'all.
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Good news, everyone.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Distress and pain.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
I'm back. No more fun. This is where I make the announcement. Before I get started, those of you who are lore fans, the Chapter 3 of the complete history to Star Citizen of Star Citizen Universe is out for Patreons. It likely will not release this week for everybody else. It may release next week, but I want to do the Virgil video first. And so that'll probably be the next video. And then after that, it'll be released for everybody else. So probably not next Wednesday or Saturday, but the Saturday after next. So it will release like Wednesday the 15th. Probably. The reason why I release it to Patreon first is because Patreon literally pays for my editor. Like, the Patreon goes mostly to funding my editor who does that video. And it's 45 minutes, well edited, all that sort of thing. And New Soul, who's here as well, actually has been doing the soundtrack for it, which I gotta start paying y'all for it, because holy shit, I did not expect. When Uriah was like, hey, New Soul's doing it, and I listened to it, I'm like, god damn, this is a custom, like, soundtrack for this thing. I'll give y'all a bit of a preview because you're here watching this live. We'll watch the first, like, the intro and the first few minutes, a few seconds of it, and then we'll get to the next part. With the Unification Wars won, humanity returned its gaze. Okay. We can get this to full screen. With the Unification Wars won, humanity returned its gaze to the stars. Its burgeoning empire had barely begun to grow, but with a unified government and vision for space expansion, a new wave of human pioneers and explorers set out to conquer the stars. This is the complete history of the Star Citizen universe. Remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when these release. If you wish to support the channel financially, then becoming a member or Patreon will go a long way. Now, let's return to the story with Chapter 3, The Conquest of Stars. By 2402, the first settlements were built on the twin planets of Aramis, Vega 2, and Selene, Vega 3, as the UNE set its sights on the system, which showed great promise. Vega wasn't the only system rapidly terraforming. Redder, Caliban, Centauri, and even Oberon were also in full swing. The human colonial expansion era had begun. As these systems rapidly developed with the help of the centralized planning and control of the UNE, it also attracted new investments into terraforming. One of these investors was one Martha Shubin, a Seoul construction magnate who would found an investment group known as Shubin Interstellar. It wouldn't be long before her investments would pay off, and pay off massively. After a series of mergers and acquisitions, Shubin Interstellar became the third largest terraforming conglomerate in the UNE. It was the beginning of what historian Dr. Edward Nogel would call the Hidden Empire. It was during this boom when one Ruben Pardue, one of the first graduates from the University of Redder, would find his purpose. His graduate dissertation was on exploring the future applications of geohacking tech, also known as geoengineering. This would gain the attention of Titiana Terraforming, who convinced the young engineer to join their effort in Uriel. Pardue quickly became known as an adept problem solver with a caustic tongue. He was arrogant, but rarely wrong, and as such, rocketed through the ranks of the terraforming team. Soon he would be asked to construct a network of tunnels under the planet's surface to house another team's experimental thermal device to warm up the frozen core. He spent months in the tunnels, obsessing over every last detail, and in his downtime sketched ideas for new equipment that would have been useful in his operations. Famously, one of these devices would go on to become the Pyro Multi-Tool, an indispensable part of modern space living. Unfortunately, on May 23, 2381, he was in the tunnels when a section of the operations hub collapsed, killing 37 and injuring dozens more, trapping Pardue in a connecting tunnel. When rescuers arrived, he was barely clinging to life and would go on to require his dominant left arm to be amputated. Titiana was obligated to cover the medical costs, and Pardue could have had the finest prosthetics available at the time. But he refused, letting his missing arm be a reminder of his failure. Ruben Pardue would quietly leave the company afterwards, a broken man in body and spirit. Luckily for him, an old college friend reached out upon hearing the news. I'll get through this and then we'll stop pause
at
this next section. Pippa Broussard took over Grey Cat Industrial from her father Otis in 2380. Although she was the CEO, her father was still the chairman of the board and watched what she did closely. In order to get some distance between herself and her father, she used the completion of the terraforming of Croshaw to open a second plant on Angeli, moving her office away from Mars and the watchful eyes of the board. She hired Pardue to help her come up with new products for this factory. Ruben went right to work, pulling ideas from his time working on the Titiana team to create an armor that would have saved the lives of the workers who had died under his supervision.
It's actually that armor.
An armor that would have allowed him to keep his arm. This armor would become known as the Ariel armor and would be a huge success financially. Pippa offered Ruben a promotion to head up Grey Cat's engineering department, but he refused, not wanting the responsibility of lives heaped upon him once more. Ruben was there to work and wanted his works vetted by as many others as possible to ensure they worked. After the success of the Ariel, he would pull out his old idea of the Pyro Multi-Tool. While the Ariel was a great success, the Pyro was revolutionary. Grey Cat couldn't physically keep up with the demand for the device, which was needed more and more as humanity was not just exploring the stars, but calling them home. It was at this time that the first real divisions began to form inside the UNE government. The time of unification had passed, and now the debate was on just how this unified government should handle the issues of space exploration and settlement. These divisions mostly centered around how much control should the government have over the various far-flung colonies. This manifested into two political parties, the Centralist and the Universalist, both of which still exist to this day. The Centralists believe in government regulation and spending. That is their actual low tax logo, rates, increased privacy laws, and less government spending. They want as little control as possible being held by the government over the people, believing what regulations and spending exist. You'll have to watch the rest of it when it comes out in a couple of weeks, or if you're on Patreon right now. Yeah, shout out to Uri and to New Soul. Uri is the editor behind this. He does fantastic work with that. That's entirely him. And the gave New Soul some like ideas like, hey, these are the transitions, these are the things I'm looking for. So he's been it's if you like this the complete history of Star Citizen universe, it is not just me, it is a team effort. It is a collective effort from all of us to make it look that good. So thanks to Teaser, no problem. Yeah, that's 42 minutes long, by the way, y'all. It's about 45 minutes. Yeah, 42 minutes. It's 40 to 45 minutes long. This one, so. Thank you for doing this. Again, I gotta throw you some cash for this. Did I get rated by I'm an idiot? Oh, I didn't get rated. Okay. It's like, wait. Did Soul Citizens raid? Appreciate the Lord Canto. We can't wait for this. It's pretty cool. I'm very excited for it because this is part one of the Golden Age, and then the second part, chapter 4 is the second part of the Golden Age, which ends with the first contact with the Xi'an and the Tavaran. And so episode 5 is the Tavaran War. And man, shit gets spicy at the Tavaran War. There is a lot of content. That episode's probably going to be 40 minutes, and it's only covering about 4 years. Not to mention the Rise of the Mezzers, which will be its own episode as well, probably episode 6. When are you streaming this again, Paul? Or for Patreon? It's already on Patreon. It's already on Patreon right now for people who have on Patreon, but it'll be again for everybody else in 2 weeks. So I'll put a date on it. This will come out the 15th of March. So not available for YouTube Pub members. No, it's only available for Patreons for the Astro Historian. The YouTube stuff, especially the Astro Historian stuff, is mostly for, hey, thank you. That's why it's only like $1. Figure it's a nice little, want to throw some money at you. I haven't really thought of anything other than a nice little shout out for helping out sort of thing. CIG, you put your lore videos in game as radio stations or something. I wouldn't be against working with CIG to make a lore series. I've thought about this before, and I've been waiting for the announcement of Squadron 42 to sit down with CIG executives and pitch an idea. It's like, hey, give me an editor, or just let my team give me a team, give me a budget, and I will make videos for you on the run up to Squadron 42 to the complete history within fiction for everything like that. But I've talked about it before. I've kind of like talked a few of the ideas before with Tyler, and they said we're not against it. You'd have to talk with the executives about it. And I was like, yeah, I'd have to put together a business plan for it. I'd probably have to talk to Jared about it. But well, the thing is that briefing room is one thing, but you need to have something. something that is in game or in fiction, so like as if it was its own like video, like the trailers we see, the advertisements we see in game right now, in game right now, and on like YouTube and stuff like that for ships, something like that, but like a 4 to 6 part series of about 10 minutes long each, maybe 5 to 10 minutes long each, covering the history of the universe, and maybe slanted towards Squadron 42 specifically, because then you could use those things as marketing materials, but also as a nice way of getting people who are only interested in Squadron a little bit of understanding of what the universe is like, because it's a lot of fucking time. All right. Yeah, something like that. Something like if you put it all together, it would work like a 30-minute recap of world history sort of thing. Unlike a TV show. Because that's really what would get people invested in the universe, is understanding the background, especially with Squadron 42, which is lore rich, lore depth, just, it's crunchy. It's got a lot of lore inside that. It's got a nice lore nougat. But you need something to kind of ease them into it. Or to tell people this is not, because this is one of the things that is a common misconception that I hear amongst even backers, that Squadron 42 is just a Call of Duty campaign. 4 to 6 hours. It's a tutorial for Star Citizen. That's all it is. It's just $60 for 10 hours. And it's like, nah, this is like a hybrid RPG flight sim FPS thing. Like it's a combination of it's more like Mass Effect than it is like Call of Duty, but it's not Mass Effect. The first 2 chapters are already available on YouTube for anyone to watch. So if you want to watch it, that's a total of about an hour and a half of content just there. Just look for a complete history of Star Citizen lore, or hit !AH, I believe, in chat for you in Twitch. That'll give you a link to the Astro Historian YouTube. It's just the Astro Historian on YouTube. If I can't romance a... But I think... But my point is... The link? No. Let me see. Is it lore? Yeah. Exclamation point lore is what it is. I have 160 videos on Star Citizen lore. Some of it obviously overlaps. And obviously, I would say about a handful of them are a minute or less. And maybe 20 of those are a minute or less. But yeah, the majority of those are anywhere between 5 and 45 minutes. Idea Paul, CIG role, narrator for the Star Citizen Codex. Nah, I'm not a voice actor. Get a voice actor. Get Meyer to do that. There are some professional voice actors who are in the community right now who are fans of the community who CIG could hire and have professionally done. Meyer would be a fantastic example. I could listen to Meyer read the fucking phone book. That man has a voice that could melt steel beams. It is that smooth. There's also... I'm blanking on his name, but I know him. There's another guy who's actually a professional voice actor, who's actually in the Battletech. He played the main villain in the Battletech game, who's a big fan of Star Citizen, who's also a professional voice actor. It would be great. Yeah, it's the Astro Historian on YouTube, because I got to change things up to make sure that YouTube algorithm understands what's being looked at. All right, my voice is back. I'm ready to go. Let's look at this monthly report. For those of you who have never seen a capsule before, I'm going to be doing talking to the camera and kind of just going over this content. I will not be reacting to you to comments. So if you have a comment live, save it if you want me to like a question or anything like that, save it until after I'm done talking. You can still talk and hang out, but I may not see what you typed is the issue. So the voice by Ray's guy is pretty good. I don't know if Ray is if Danny is a voice actor. I know he does a lot of other stuff, but I don't know if he's a voice actor. He might be. You also got like Space Tomato. You have Dig That. You have so many good voices out there. All right. All right, let's do this. Setting recording. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right. Capsule. These are small segments of my Office Hours live stream that I do at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. Come join us live. Hang out with the chat right here. This is a live chat of YouTube and Twitch. Love to have you come in, ask your questions, talk. We talk lore, we talk news, we talk a bunch of other stuff. Kind of check in on Star Citizen time to time. Now, what I've been doing quite frequently with these is every time we have a roadmap update or a monthly report, I will sit down and read them cover to cover. Now, I've actually seen some comments, Paul, don't do this. People don't want this cover to cover thing. And as far as I understand, people have wanted this because while there's nothing wrong with synopsises are fantastic tools for somebody who has little time. It's important to remember that, maybe this is just my historical background coming out, but a synopsis is or education background. A synopsis is a shortened version of the full context. And if you're getting a shortened version of the full context, you're letting the person who's giving you the synopsis dictate what you get, what's important or not. So by reading the whole thing, which I will have a link down below, I highly suggest you read that yourself. But if you read the whole thing, you'll get a little bit better. So that's why I read it from cover to back, kind of like an audiobook, as it were, for people who don't necessarily have the time to read, but are able to listen and want that full context. So come, join me as we look at the monthly report for February of 2023. But before we do, remember, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that bell icon if you want to be notified when these are released, because I'll be doing this. If you enjoyed this, make sure you hit those things because that's how you get up to date on all of this information. With that said, let's get started. All right, PEU monthly report, February 2023. Let's make this a little bit bigger. February was a busy month for all of CIG Studios, with final bug fixing for the upcoming patch alongside extensive feature and tech work for releases later this year. Read it on for everything completed in progress, including the Lorville rework, new water system, updates to Arena Commander, and more. Interesting. All right. AI Tech. AI Tech began February by completing the NPC Transit feature, which manages elevators and trains. Now NPCs will understand if a transit carriage isn't present at their location and whether they can move directly inside, if they need to wait, or if they should press a button to call it. They will also understand when they arrive at their destination and will move outside. While in the carriage, NPCs will look for a usable and idle there until they reach their destination. Upon completion, the feature was passed to design, following which the AI Tech addressed feedback and fixed bugs. So this is an upstream team that's building a lot of this tech. This is something they've been working on for 3 months now. I think they started back in December of last year. So it's completed, it's finished, it's done. It's moved on down the line to design. So AI design team is now going to take a look at it and see how they can work it. But the actual tech of them being able to do those things exists. Now, Does this mean that the AI tech like that, we will see these AI doing it in 3.19? Probably not. This is more likely part of this big AI overhaul that they're going to be doing for 4.0 once they have, or post 4.0 or beyond, once they have the server meshing and all that other stuff working, so they can get the AI from Squadron that they're building in there as well. So it's hard to tell, but it's good progress. The team then allocated time to improving NPC trolley usage. Again, with the trolleys, CIG wants to destroy the whole universe. Ensuring that NPCs can use elevators and move trolleys with them if their behavior requests it. Stop. Just stop. AI tech team, get some help. Okay? Please. You want not only them to pick up trolleys, which is a weaponed, like a disaster waiting to happen, but you want to push them into the other buggiest thing in Star Citizen, which is elevators? You're madmen. You men, women, NBs of CIG AI tech team, you are insane and you need to be stopped. Gosh, that's like a list of the worst things that could possibly happen in the Star Citizen server right now. NPC, trolley, and elevator. To achieve this, they had to write new and update existing behaviors and fix bugs related to path following while pushing a trolley. The team also finished the base skeleton of Verboids. Oh, there's a Zoids joke in there somewhere. Birdoid objects, which will enable groups of small creatures like birds, fish, and rats. This required them to implement new components, including a system that allowed for designers to write rules and constraints relating to spawning and movement, which were exposed to DataForge for easy access. Hey, base skeleton done. There's been a lot of information on this too. AI tech team has been working a lot, and animation have been working on, and art actually, have been working on a lot of creatures. So it sounds like CIG isn't going to be like, oh, we're going to put a little creature in game and it'll be done. It's like, sounds like CIG is going to be like, hey, here's 105 creatures we developed over the last 2 years. Go nuts. Probably not that much, but several creatures in every biome, so it doesn't just feel as empty. And a lot of that has to do with Squadron as well, because a lot of this stuff is going for Squadron, as we'll find out next week when we look at the Squadron stuff. On the navigation side, the AI tech continued to work on cost area shapes that will influence the topology of navigation mesh triangles. This will enable the Pathfinder to avoid or prefer to use specific areas, as mentioned in last month's report. This will initially be used to avoid fire hazards and define sidewalks for social AI actors. People pointed that out as well. The sidewalks thing. That seems to indicate that AI will be walking on sidewalks in landing zones. And there aren't really that many sidewalks in landing zones. It could be for Squadron 42, but that seems to imply that they're building AI tech to navigate cities that have roads. So that's an interesting direction they seem to be pointing. It's not confirmed yet, but that seems to be what they're pointing towards. The team also progressed with navigation agent type override parameters, which are used when creating areas to specific navigation constraints. For example, they enabled an NPC to transition from standing to regular space to crouching in event. AI tech also exposed new parameters to specify entity properties during the navigation generation phase. Now the designers will be able to mark entities as included, the default value, the entity is processed during voxelization, and the nav mesh is generated using the object. Excluded, one entity will be ignored during generation. For the navigation system, this will be the equivalent of not having found the object, ignoring walkability. This entry will cause a nav mesh to consider it an obstacle. NPCs will not be able to walk on or on top of the object. Okay. So this again, a lot of stuff that they've been talking about in the past, the idea of being able to have AI be able to crouch, crawl, go from EVA to standing positions, all of the sorts of transitions and weird positions that they're not able to do right now. AI tools. For AI tools, the team progressed their work on the Apollo, the subsumption tool, and added new functionality requested by designers, including master graph editing to allow users to select the default state for each parent state, the ability to create new multi-graph nodes by dragging functions from the outlier, support for comments inside XMLs. This was an engine-wide improvement. Support to read object container information related to platform creation directly from the P4K files. They also fixed several issues relating to resizing the node graph view. Work continued on the usable coordinator tool, with the team adding support for multiple input types that can better specify when choosing the next usable or usable group. For example, specifying the number of usables required to determine that group is complete. They also fixed an issue preventing the usable group coordinator from working correctly with object containers and implemented the ability to add multiple instances of the same usable within different properties. Now, a usable, as far as I understand, is beyond just something you can pick up and use. It's also like sitting down, or anything that the AI can interact with is considered a usable. I think that even anything a player can interact with is considered a usable. I think that's what it means. I could be wrong, though. And if I am, let me know in the comments. And this other part, the subsumption tool, this is just them building out the tools for making AI, like subsumption and such. Finally, for AI tech, the team fixed and investigated issues with Alpha 3.18, including a problem with NPCs standing on chairs. Did you, though? Did you? You cannot stop the the United Workers of Hurston, that's what it is. The United Workers of Hurston and their fight against the oppression of the Hurstons. May they stand on chairs and protest forever. This was caused by an incorrect animation step of benches and chairs, likely due to a mannequin tag refactor that was not correctly propagated through the usable step. At least they're explaining why AI stand on chairs now. And as chat's saying, this is the 8th time they fixed it. It's important to remember, and CIGs have talked about this in the past as well, is that there are multiple things that can cause the same bug to show up and sometimes come back because other things change. You're talking about stuff piled on top of stuff and top of stuff. So things come back often. Regressive bugs come back often, and not just in Star Citizen, and lots of other games as well. A great example of this would be the creation engine with Bethesda. There's many legacy bugs that exist in the creation engine that have either been fixed, likely fixed multiple times, but still come back because of various other issues that Bethesda adds to it. So it's a common issue. Art ships. Last month, UK Vehicle Art approached the end of their work on the Argo SRV. Sweet. The final art phase is in progress, including the LOD and damage passes, and is expected to conclude with a final gate review in a go-no-go in March. I think that's a confirmation, boys. Boys, girls, NBs. I think CIG is going to be releasing tractor beams, ship tractor beams in 3.19. I could be wrong. This is my opinion. It is not what CIG has said. They have said nothing of this. This is my personal tinfoil hat musings. Anything I say is not representative of Cyberspace Industries or any of whatever the Jared usually says. It's a big theory from me, but that's what it seems like. Work also continued on an unannounced ship, which passed its LOD 0 review gate and is well into the final art phase. That means it's not done, but it's in its last stages of being done. After it gets out of final art, it needs its damage passes and LOD phase. New variant moved into LOD 0 phase after passing its gray box review in January. Detailing work on the exterior and interior is ongoing. Very interesting. I think we'll have to see what that is, but it's a variant of a ship that's already in existence, but they haven't confirmed that. Crusader Spirit continued in its gray box pass with a review gate taking place at the end of the month. Okay. While there are still a few visual design tweaks to be made, the Spirit is looking in great shape for the review. That doesn't mean that we're going to see the Spirit with IA or with Invictus. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it with IAE, though. Almost certainly this year. The team looked at the MISC Hull C to fix any visual issues that occurred during its ongoing technical setup, while the MISC Freelancer is undergoing some interior tweaks to accommodate physicalized components. It's happening, boys and girls and NBs. It's happening. Y'all, it's happening. We're getting a Freelancer. Freelancer's finally getting fixed. Probably not entirely, but a little bit. Greybox and the upcoming vehicle progressed. Testing was done simultaneously on modeling process to see if the team can reduce the LOD impact on production once they arrive at the final content phase. And I keep saying LOD and not explaining it. LOD is level of detail. That's what it is. LOD 0 is like an initial version of it, but LOD is the stream and stream out, like what kind of versions you see. Like very far away, your game is actually rendering just like a tiny little pixel, and as you get closer, it has different phases that it goes through until it reaches its final phase. So you can think of it as like frames in a you like a flip book. You can kind of see something approaching as you flip the flip book. The way you do that is each frame is drawing it bigger and bigger. You can think of that as kind of distance frames. The Apoa Santokyai is currently in the gray box stage and is undergoing significant testing to see how far the team can take the secondary motion. That's almost certainly for Invictus, but we'll see. The goal for us is to make the ship feel as though it's reacting heavily to its inertia. Doing this requires that we apply blend space animations similar to what we do with characters. Vehicle Dark Team. Interesting. Aw. Community. Throughout February, the community team supported Cora Moore, Star Citizen's take on Valentine's Day, with a screenshot contest. In tandem, an update was released into the community hub that allows for them to spotlight content created for specific events, take over the front page of the website, and collate community submissions for events into an archive. Last year's Bar Citizen World Tour proved to be a huge success, with thousands of players meeting up in person for beverages, camaraderie, and giveaways. We have started planning many more events this year, while also putting out the call for suggested locations on Spectrum, community team. In support of the new salvage mechanic, the team created a starter guide to coincide with the Alpha 3.18, releasing to all waves on the PTU. Alongside the standard sentiment reporting and general communications and publishes, planning began for CitizenCon 2953 in Los Angeles, California. Right. Quickly. Okay. This is where we get to the disclaimer. Hi, I'm Paul. I have no idea what engine's talking about. The engine has language that I do not understand. These machine spirits speak in ways that are only decipherable by the engine seers. The replicators only talk to the Starfleet engineers, and just in general, I have no idea what they're saying. So I will still read it. And if you have the translations, please do put it into the comments. We've had a couple of people who've been translating this in the comments, which is a big thank you for those people who've been doing that. That helps me understand a little bit more about what's going on. But yeah, engine, I'm going to read it. So if you understand a little bit, feel free to do it. Most of this, I can almost guarantee you, is improvements or optimizations to the code in the engine right now. In February, the physics team made several improvements to box pruning. For example, changes were made to avoid bipartite box pruning inefficiencies, decide when to run box pruning before ob pruning, and to significantly improve a box pruning performance in general. Additional optimizations included using the spaceship's local space ob for IFCS collision warning sweep checks to reduce the size of the checked volume. I was like, oh, I get some of this. Ob pruning is like objective, or objects, stuff like that. But now getting to the weird stuff I don't understand. Furthermore, support for various unary and binary distance fields operations was added to the physics system, as well as support for tapered capsules, aka biospheres, unarticulated entities. Lastly, huge pages are now used for physical entity factories. Huge pages is something they've been talking about a lot in the engine stuff. So they've been moving a lot of stuff over the huge pages. On the renderer, Gen 12 received a motion vector support to render to texture pipelines. Also, redundant copying of render target data for partial refractions was eliminated. Moreover, the team spent time improving ultra-wide screen support. As one of the results, rendering of the in-game console was vastly improved, resulting in clear text displays. Improving the visor for ultra-wide screens is still being worked on. Lastly, the CPU side code for scatter queries was optimized. For the core engine, further substantial improvements and performance optimizations were implemented for the remote shader compiler server. Work on the streaming system improvements started, and the final touches on the P4K version 2 support for internal development tools are being wrapped up. The team also started looking into more advanced tool support for memory tracking of both the server and client. The remainder of the time was spent supporting Alpha 3.18. Features, Arena Commander. February saw the Arena Commander team continuing to develop the laying of the foundations deliverables for an upcoming patch. That's interesting. That's capitalized too. Laying the foundations deliverables. This included further work on the spawning and racing system refactors and the delivery of the refactored rounds module, along with the long-awaited bug fixes and quality of life changes. The design team focused on the conversion of a new Stanton location into Arena Commander, which will feature all of the standard game modes, bar Classic Race. This location, which we'll talk about more as we get closer to release, has the team tackling some unique challenges with taking PU locations that will help ease the process for future endeavors. Features team. Interesting, because they've mentioned in the past that they're doing Jericho Station, but they've talked about that before, like straight up. So it's hard to tell what that is. Maybe it's this next section. The team also began working on an all-new atmospheric dogfighting arena, which will be the first fully atmospheric map in Arena Commander. Hey, we're getting atmospheric maps for Arena Commander. Nice. Why am I? It's just weird. Okay. Features, characters, and weapons. In February, the features team continued to support the upcoming patch release with critical bug fixes, mainly for crashes and player position desyncs. The team also began looking at lockers and how to best create outfits as a predetermined collections of items that can be equipped or worn in a single action. They're currently looking at a combination of the item port and inventory systems to store and display large to small items. Physicalized lockers, nice. Outfits and predefined collection of items. Okay, so that sounds interesting. For example, a coat may appear in a hanger just like in the shops, whereas a small accessory item or a weapon attachment could go into an inventory drawer. So some things will be displayed and other things won't, depending on what what you put in there. So you might like open the locker and then you access the inventory screen, and as you transfer stuff from your inventory to the inventory thing, like say a jacket, it'll just show up in the locker, and then maybe like they can just assign the drawers something else. You won't necessarily pull out the drawer and pull something out and then like put in your inventory. So another inventory aspect in progress is allowing players to perform a reload directly from a backpack or pocket. For example, if ammunition isn't directly available in their suit, players can perform a slower reload where it's retrieved from their inventory. However, this only works if spare ammunition has been stored prior to engaging in combat. Oh, interesting. So no suit runs might work. Interesting. That's a lot of cool information there. Features, gameplay. The gameplay features team continued their work on the tractor beam, enabling ship owners to protect their ship items by locking them into lock exterior functionality. They also added an interaction to the Grey Cat multi-tool, which will detach unlocked items from ships to allow for more control over item detaching. Wow. Okay. This isn't just Tractor beams. This is exactly what I thought it was, and I dared not hope, which is, this is salvage. The same concept would be work on a salvage ship, being able to remove guns, and I think you can sell the guns in the commodities markets and stuff like that. So that's big. And then you can protect it by locking it. So you actually physically have your weapons and equipment, and you have to physically install them onto your ship using tractor beams. That is great. The team then expanded on the hollow outline that weapon features provided to get clear feedback on the attaching rules for ship items. The QATR process for this began alongside the QATRs for the mining update. So this is happening the same time as the mining update. The mining update we know is working on it right now. We've actually seen some updates. So this is fairly recently. Like, this seems to be, again, pointing towards an Invictus or 319 release of tractor beams. That would be massive. The team continued their work on the resource network, which is now known as engine gameplay. Gameplay features will provide a more in-depth look into this feature in an upcoming episode of Inside Star Citizen, I hope. In the US, the PU team worked on the physicalized cargo refactor. This significant conversion has several goals. Convert the existing cargo render proxy to actual physical entities for each cargo container. This enables them to be manually added and removed from the cargo grid using the tractor beam. Convert all commodities, minerals, and harvestables to the new resource type. This requires refactors of the mining and refinery systems to ensure that they work with the new resources. Recreate the commodity kiosk using building blocks to give greater flexibility with future changes. Ensure all missions that use any form of cargo, usually in the form of carryable two-handed entities, still work with the new cargo resource system. Work with ship's team to mark all cargo grids to use for the new system. So this seems to be along the same lines as the resource network, because a lot of this stuff, you'll probably say, well, a lot of this stuff already exists. We already have physical cargo. Yes, but we have physical cargo in 1SCU boxes. It doesn't work with anything else. And commodities are different from minables, which are different from refinables. All of these are different items in the game. The game labels them as different things. What it seems like they're doing now is they're saying, all right, we're going to take all of this stuff and we're going to cram it into one item, one thing. The game will recognize this as the one thing, and everything will use that one thing. One ring to rule them all. One cargo to bind them. So I'm going to call this the Sauron system for future reference, for those of you who are in the know. The Sauron system of cargo. Or for those of you in the know with the military industrial complex or logistics, the palletization system, if you will. The PU team worked closely with the EU-PU gameplay to ensure that the conversion worked not only with mining and refinery systems, but also ensured that the new salvage system worked with the new resource system as well. Once we had confirmed that the cargo was properly working in the cargo grids, Chris Roberts pointed out the fact that since ships were always destroyed upon death, the majority of cargo was destroyed, thus reducing the amount that players could interact with the new system. So he worked with the Arena Commander feature team to implement soft death on ships. This ensures that the majority of the time the ship is destroyed, it enters a disabled state, which preserves all the cargo within the ship so it can be retrieved by interested parties. Wait, this is really old. Like, this is talking about what stuff that's in 3.18. So are minables now the one ring? Are we now seeing... I think that's what it is. I think this is just fully in there. Features, mission. February saw features. The mission features make a few improvements to the Glacier Rehabilitation Facility, including changing the stashes onto lootable containers, boxes for now. This allows them to put whatever items they want inside, such as rare contraband, alongside typical sustenance and oxypens. A full stash should now contain an amount of contraband that can be returned, giving players another non-violent means to reduce their sentence. Players can now also steal minerals from other NPC inmates, and, should they do it enough in the mines, get away without being caught. Given these new options for generating merits, plus the new escape mission, and Platinum Bay at the nearest outpost, the team decided to increase the cap on prison sentences to further punish those committing numerous felonies, though lighter sentences will remain the same. I don't like that term punish there, mission team. It shouldn't be, you're punishing players for playing the game that you're telling them to. It should be consequences, not punish. Mass murder now has serious consequences. So there we go. Leaving an escape a much more tempting prospect. Mission feature team. Several unannounced missions continued to be prototyped, one of which sees players escorting ships as they quantum travel and land at various locations, potentially allowing for players to board aboard to carry out tasks. Aboard the ships? So we're talking about a mission where you're actually on another ship? That'd be cool. At least this is an escort mission, but of course, everyone's favorite, escort missions. Let me read that one more time. Several unannounced missions continue to be prototyped, one of which sees players escorting ships as they quantum travel and land at various locations, potentially allowing players aboard to carry out tasks. Finally, after inheriting ownership of the reputation system, the team began designing out a system as a whole alongside prioritizing which work comes first. That's why we haven't seen any reputation stuff, is because it was being passed off to the mission features team. Well, gosh darn it, I hope they improve it. It's one of those things that's very much needed for things like Pyro to have any kind of weight or substance. Features vehicles. Last month, the vehicle feature team mostly focused on the transit system, which was heavily refactored for the release of persistent entity streaming. As we've been pushing through the various PTU waves to release Alpha 3.18, more and more issues have arisen. Most transit bugs do not present locally on machines, so we've developed a system where we can remotely log the transit system and observe what happened after the bug occurs. This has been extremely helpful in finding various bugs in the PTU, vehicle features. For releases further ahead, new features were announced or were added to the flight system, and some older systems were refactored in support of one of the ship's team's unannounced vehicles. It's odd. There's been a mention of a vehicle that has some specific features which weren't announced that needed to go to the mission feature, or to the vehicle's features team to get an overhaul, which is hard to tell. Finally, the MISC Hull C received a significant amount of low-tech updates as the team worked through its issues. Graphics, VFX programming, and Planet Tech. This is kind of like Engine Light. A lot of this stuff makes sense, but there is still some gobbledygook which I don't fully understand. And it's not gobbledygook, it's just Greek to me. Last month, the graphics team continued to close out the final tasks for Gen 12 before they transitioned to assisting in completion of the Vulkan graphics API. So Gen 12 is finished. The damage map system was converted to Gen 12, and support for profile groups was added to achieve parity with profiling tools in the legacy renderer. Additionally, the render pipeline was made configurable to allow secondary viewpoints to balance the desired quality and cost. Finally, legacy lens flares were converted to Gen 12 alongside initial support for HDR. Support for TSAA is currently being added to secondary viewports, which will significantly improve visual quality, especially for hair. The team also submitted the first iteration of the new render layer feature to allow for easy customization of objects in the world for use with game features such as scanning and the minimap. For features, the graphics team further developed several shaders, including converting Layer Blend version 1 assets into the more recent version 2, and adding usability improvements to the new shader. Various improvements were also made to the UI shaders, including stability fixes for anti-aliased borders, the option to render circles on each vertex, and lighting support to allow planets in the star map to appear both lit and holographic in a single pass. For tools, texture processing was made significantly faster through parallelizing, filtering, and compression, which will be a significant improvement for the artists and build system. Work started on a new mesh format too, with the goal of vastly improving loading times and render performance. The VFX programming team's time was split between Fire, Quantum Travel, and Tool work. For Fire, work began on decal shading to achieve a glow, burn, and soot on objects within the scene. Quantum Travel has now support for the quantum casting and the redshift, along with various other code improvements. For tools, usability improvements continued and support was added for referencing particle effects from other particle effects. The Planet Tech team worked on better shaping support for asteroid fields, improvements to the harvestable system, and adding support for instancing to terrain chunks. Also, the Planet and Graphics team worked together on a new water system. This is still at an early stage, but aims to allow for GPU/wave/ripple simulations at multiple scales, as well as networking synced impacts for larger events. Example, spaceships crashing. Shading improvements are also being made to achieve better reflections, refraction, and foam. That's pretty cool. So, better asteroid fields, new harvestable systems, water effects, fire that actually leaves soot, new quantum stuff, lots of juicy stuff. Gen 12 is being finished. It's being wrapped out, and they're working on Vulcan, which is all good. In-game branding Montreal. The in-game branding team's work on Lorville's skyline is coming to an end. They also began their tasks for Pyro's Ruin Station, with the first step being creating the visual identities of the gangs and their environments. It's important to remember that Pyro, especially Ruin Station, is controlled by the Xeno threat, but there are multiple gangs who live on that station. It is a huge station, so sections of the station are controlled by various different groups. Interactables. The Interactables team continued to work on Pyro, creating more assets for Ruin Station. There's more work to be done in this mandate, and we'll have some really interesting interactable props we can't wait to share. Interactables team. The team also began working closely with the mission features on new assets the players will be interacting with around the verse, and progress with Flare that will reach players at some point this year. Very cool. Lighting. Lighting finished their work on the Lorville Skyline rework, then moved on to Colonial Outposts. This is a significant undertaking with many pieces that we need to get right. Lighting team. In February, the Live Tools team successfully implemented the first version of the Entity Graph tool into the Network Operations Center, which is a major milestone in supporting the persistent entity streaming. The developers are still working on improvements for other internal tools alongside priority bug fixing in support of Alpha 3.18. Next, the team will start the design and development of the new Network Operations Center modules for server meshing. So, continue on that one. Locations EU. In February, the Locations team completed the exteriors of Seraphim Station and the 3 station jump points and the 3 Stanton jump points. It's important to note that the jump points do exist in lore, but they each will have unique looks to them. I actually did a complete expose on the lore behind jump points and quantum travel and such, which I'll put up there for y'all after the fact. But the quick and dirty of it is that each jump point is unique because it is effectively a two-way window between 2 systems. So a system like Pyro, which has a lot of radiation, the jump point is going to have a lot of radiation around it in Stanton, the jump point to Pyro, because that radiation will bleed through the jump point into Stanton. So you'll have a higher than average radiation or different background radiation than you're used to in that area, which is easier to spot. So each jump point is going to have visually look different to the player, not as an identification way, but also a way of like kind of showing like the pyro system's probably going to look a lot more dangerous. It'll look red and like bleedy almost. It'll look like bruised in space because of the effects that you will see from like the stuff. They've kind of taken the red shift out, so we may not see red, but it'll still look very menacing to kind of give off that this is where you're going into pyro versus something like Terra, which might have much more vibrant and green color, whatever. So this is important. The other thing they mentioned is Seraphim Station. This is likely not the case. It could be the case. I could be entirely right in this one, but I'm, again, supposition on my part. Almost, in my mind, that's the replacement for Port Olisar. Port Olisar has been aging, and as gameplay progresses, Port Olisar's got to go. I know it doesn't, a lot of people are upset about that fact, but it's got to go. So Seraphim Station fits with the naming convention, and it was the original name of Crusader, was Seraphim Systems. So that would make sense that their station orbiting them would be called Seraphim. Also, Seraphim means angel, or it's a type of angel in the Judeo-Christian tradition, so having it orbit Crusader makes a lot of sense. Work is approaching final art on the asteroid clusters for the Resource Rush mission. That's the new mining mission version. And the team is working on the last few modules to close out Content Pack 3, okay, which will enable them to construct and distribute Pyro's small to medium outposts. Very cool. Task progressed on Bruin Station and the underground facilities, the latter of which are currently in the white box stage. For organics, they prepared and hardened some of their cave initiatives and began looking into additional biome work. The design team worked on new missions for Pyro's outposts. They also began investigating towards achieving gold standard outposts, which produced several future requests to facilitate new and interesting gameplay loops in Pyro relating to resource network and reputation system. Very cool. All right, my bread and butter, narrative. February began with the narrative team addressing a handful of issues discovered by the thorough PTU testing of Alpha 3.18, with tasks for upcoming release winding down, attention turned to the next patch and beyond. Several items, clothing pieces, and vehicles were branded and named. Work continued on upcoming salvage, mining, and investigation missions, while improvements were considered for Bounty Hunting version 2 and the Contract Manager. The team also continued to refine and hone their work towards gameplay in the Pyro system. Seeing how the system's lawless nature has the potential to enhance existing gameplay loops has been very exciting for us, narrative team. They also contributed with the environment and damage teams on building interiors. Additionally, progress was made on narrative lootables. These things like journals, articles, and messages that players might one day be able to discover and explore the universe. Sounds like it belongs in a museum to me. And if that sounds like it's something that belongs in a museum to you, then you can join our organization, the League of Relic Enthusiasts, which is just a bunch of people who like to hunt down artifacts and put them on a museum. So just wanted to plug that in. That's really cool. I really like that idea. It's definitely something that fits with what a lot of people have been wanting, which is more stuff that fleshes out the universe that you can read or interact with. Finally, the team's narrative designers continue to work on expanding and improving player interactions with certain NPCs. Maybe mission givers? I'd love to be able to just chat with random people on the street as well. February also saw the release of a portfolio expanding the history of Clark Defense Systems and a host of new Galactopedia entries. The narrative team also appeared on an episode of Star Citizen Live. Online Services, Montreal. In February, Online Services completed the development of Shard Isolation and the Shard Broker, with PTU testing beginning for both. These new features are used for isolating push workers and Shard health/lifecycle respectively, with the goal being able to maintain Shard integrity. The team also added an inventory query caching the entity graph service. This stores the results of inventory queries in a cache to take the load off of the database for repeated lookups of the same query, allowing for faster responsive times and less load on the database. This increases the overall read and write performance for the entity graph service. For those of you who want to kind of that translated, if you remember at the very beginning of the PTU for 3.18, if you opened up your mobiGlass, you opened up your inventory, it would just be blank, and we thought it was a bug. In reality, what it was that everyone was trying to look up their inventories, and the server was overloading. It would take too long. So this is basically, these are improvements they've made to 3.18, effectively. This is the PES stuff that they're working on to improve the performance overall so they can get things working properly. The team performed a refactor for insurance, ASOP terminals, and VMA backend, the VMA backend and game code, with the goal of improving performance and fixing some long-standing bugs. Time was also spent working on to stabilize the Alpha 3.18 release with multiple bug fixes. Tech animation. Last month, the tech animation team was on set at Pinewood Studios on London, working alongside an outsourced studio to finalize face scanning to populate the remainder of the gene pool for head generation system DNA. This is relevant to both the PU and Squadron 42. We scanned a broad range of models, young and old, from all facets of humanity available to us, which will go a long way to truly showing diversity in our game. The scanning went exceptionally well. Our chosen outsourced studio has a fantastic resource in their facial scanning rig, which delivered exceptional results. Coupled with lots of hard work and a good sense of humor, we made the most of our 2 weeks, tech animation team. So yeah, for those of you who have never seen these rigs before, this is what it looks like. You're in a LED lit and some light lit thing. There's no shadows cast on you. It's entirely perfectly lit, and there are cameras that are placed, effectively DSLR cameras that take pictures of your entire body at the same time. So they can get 360 captures of your whole self. If you're interested, if you are a fan of Meyer, or if you're a fan of Super Mac Bros, both of them had their heads scanned in the same way to be put into Star Citizen. So if you want to be Super Mac Bros or Meyer in Star Citizen, you will probably after this update, whatever this update comes in. So. UI. In February, UI Art and Design worked on several future features, including an interactive 3D UI prototype, a universal marker for the star map, and concept work for some of the updated vehicle UI styles. The UI tech team progressed in various areas, including creating a color picker UI for use in interactive screens. They continued to help polish the new star map, adding space dust to make it easier to perceive movement, improving the controls, and creating cubic hollow volumes. They also completed some workflow fixes too, such as improving comments in building block files and making it easier to inspect draw UI. They also made some final fixes for Alpha 3.18. VFX. Last month, the VFX team continued with their CPU to GPU particle library conversion. This has been a good practice for some recent new starters in the team, helping them get a better understanding of the many attributes accessible from the VFX editor. They also continued to refine the new quantum travel effects, and work began on several new vehicles, including one with an unusual thrusters. Okay. Finally, the team carried out improvements to Lorville's skyline effects, adding more smoke and general ambience to help sell the industrial theme. That is the monthly report for February of 2023. Going through, doing a quick summary. Looks like we see improvements to building blocks. We're seeing some effects improvements. We're seeing brand new tech animations capturing more stuff to kind of flesh out the character creator. We're seeing stuff that was built for supporting and future proofing of PES and server meshing. We're getting narrative interactables, usables, as well as improvements to salvage, mining, investigation missions, bounty hunting, and the contract manager. Ruin Station's getting a big overhaul from the EU team. Seraphim Station mentions, which again I believe is the replacement for Olisar, and 3 Stanton jump points being worked on. Server meshing began, stuff working, or the live tool teams started the design development of the Network Operations Center modules for live server meshing. It didn't begin just now, because everyone freaks out when you say stuff like that. Interactables added some more stuff, especially with Pyro stuff. We've got a lot of graphics updated. Gen 12 is done. They're working on, they're starting to move over to Vulkan. Improved some fire, quantum travel, and other such. We see some vehicle features, specifically the Hull C got a lot of stuff, as well as some old, some unannounced vehicles got like checked in on. We're going to see longer prison times for people who do more naughty things. And reputation system, which suddenly is appeared out of nowhere, is now being used by the mission features team. We see some gameplay features stuff, specifically with the tractor beam, to remove weapons and exterior pylons, stuff from exterior pylons. We see lockers, persistent lockers, where you're able to store your stuff, and it'll populate based off of like what you put in there. The visual model will change. Arena Commander is getting a new mode, or getting 2 new maps they've mentioned, and they're kind of going over the whole laying the foundations section, which was capitalized strangely. Engine did engine things. The arch ships, we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 2 new ships mentioned, plus a new variant, plus the Crusader Spirit is going pretty well. A new variant, or yeah, I said a variant. The Santokyai, and of course the big thing on Argo SRV. The SRV is looks like it's almost done. AI tools kind of improved a little bit. Much of that seen there. AI tech. We see the boids, the birdoid objects, fishes, birds, and rats being worked. They want to destroy the universe by giving AI trolleys and pushing them into elevators. They also fixed all the issues where now AI can traverse on not just elevators, but also on trams and such like that. They'll go in, they'll sit on seats and that sort of thing. All that tech stuff was done. So that was this last month. I want to know your thoughts. Is this good news? Or you have questions about things? Do you understand the words of the Omnissiah and what the engine, the machine spirits desire? Please let me know all those things in the comments below. And of course, let me know if these are helpful. If you still want me to do them, that's always good to know. And do this, put it up there, because a lot of people say, I don't want to watch through 4 hours of your live stream to get this content. So I was like, hey, I'll just pull it out, put it up there. People seem to like it. Let me know, again, if this is helpful in the comments below. And as always, remember, hope to see you someday in the black. Be right back, chat. We'll go over and talk about this a little bit. I'm back. Trent Sparks, thank you, Elsinore. That's what I was thinking. Almost used the wrong catchphrase? Yes, I did. Sodium Michaels, Salty Mike. These X1 are the Antares. CIG, generally speaking, doesn't... If it's an unannounced ship, they will say unannounced. If it's a ship they already know about and they announced, then they usually talk about it. So if it was the X1, it would already be out there. The Antares, they would probably already mentioned it because this was written up towards the end of February, and the Antares was announced in mid-February, I think around Valentine's Day. So I don't think so. It doesn't track with the way that they write these things, generally speaking. Could be wrong, but yeah. Yeah, Magnus was the other one. I don't know how I could forget Magnus, but... How goes the latest build? I haven't played it. This is just my office hour stream where we kind of go through the news and reviews and kind of condense everything. We just went through all of the monthly report, so... User work with Trent Sparks? Nice. Yes, the Hull C, the most reworked ship, did not be released. Yeah, they're going to increase crime stats. So what they said was effectively if you did more violent stuff that you got caught for, then you'll be in there for longer to try to encourage people to use the escape system more. A UI element that allows users to select colors. I don't know if that was what it said. I think it was more for design tools, but I'd love to see if that was actually true. Yeah, the Judeo-Christian angels also come from form of rings floating on eyeballs around the pure light. I'm not sure that they think about the name Seraphim Station. I mean, that tracks. That tracks, fishy. Colony drop, yes. Are there also supposed stations at the Halo? Could be those. It could be. Though I doubt that the Seraphim stations are the Halo stations. They would have just called them the Halo stations. There'd be multiples of them. There's not just one. Well, there would have to be multiple Seraphim stations because there was only a mention of one, because they mentioned 3 jump points in one Seraphim station. It could be wrong. Again, it could definitely be a jump point station, but for me, that has all the lore hallmarks of a Crusader Industries station above Orison. Because PO has definitely got to go away, and that makes sooner rather than later as they develop a lot of these gameplay features. So, Ripple, is that a JoJo reference? And yes, Celine, they 100% took your idea about doing a mission where you're on a ship. They said like multiple mission types that they've been working on. I'm curious who is in charge of the rep system before why it took them so long to get passed on. Most likely it was the tools team or the PU team, one of the PU teams. How is mining busted in 3.18, Victor? And if it is, you should probably report it. One box to rule them all, one sensor to find them, one beam to lift them all, and on the deck plate bind them. The Sauron inventory system. I saw someone say that's a lazy method. It's like, no, it's an efficient method. Pallets, baby, pallets. That's not always the case there, Chrono Lock. I know what you're saying because they're a reference. The Seraphim Station was referenced at the same time as talking about the 3 jump points. I think there's more of them talking about the things they built, because I'll go over it again real quickly to tell you what else they talked about in that one. In February, the locations team completed the exteriors of Seraphim Station and the 3 Stanton jump points. Work is approaching final art on the asteroid clusters for the Resource Rush mission, so those were the only locations they mentioned for Stanton. So they may have put them in there because there are 2 items that are in Stanton that they were working on. The next point is talking about asteroid clusters for a mission. They're also working on the last modules to close out Contact Pack 3, which is specifically for Pyro. So the way that, in my mind, the way that tracks is these are the things we actually built for Stanton. Here are some things we built for a mission, and here's the things we built for Pyro. And then they go on to say Ruin Station and Pyro Outposts and the Reputation System. So it seems more of that, but I've always felt that somebody would log off at Olisar and then have to install a patch before logging on again. Would log in and it'd be a new station there with a new name. I don't think that'll happen. I think CIG will do something to drop. I really want to see a colony drop. That would be hilarious. It would be terrifying and kind of awesome in terms of like actually seeing an event like that. But seeing a Char style colony drop onto Orison would be that would be an event. Paul, is it normal if I posted something on Spectrum and that became a meme? Yes, because Spectrum's a meme. What did you post that became a meme? You think we'll get new story about the underground facilities? We actually have already got a few of those stories. We got a new, not a new story, but a new company that will probably be the result of most of the derelict systems. I can't remember the name of the company, but it's a new mining company that was released in the last quarterly or last monthly Galactopedia update. Cargo system commentary. It's a Xeon type style colony drop. Char wasn't the only one who attempted it. He's probably the most famous one for it, though. Colony drop onto a planet with no ground. Who said you're dropping it only on a planet with no ground? Who says it's not laced with bombs so that it's designed to be dropped onto to Orison, get towards the parts and then explode. To me, stations and asteroids and jump points sounds like the Halo heading outward. Possibly. I don't see it though. You just got banned for 48 hours from Spectrum. Max, Spectrum is a terrible place that no one should go. Just don't interact on Spectrum. It's a I've never had a good experience on Spectrum. Ever. People thought friendly cargo, enemy thought it was an enemy's box. Colony drop, the ultimate. You ever been so angry you beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker? Also, I can see like that event writes itself. You can only do it once. And I know CIG is not happy about doing that kind of thing, but you can only do it once. And the cinematic alone would sell copies of Star Citizen. A flaming station plummeting towards Orison, news reports, all sorts of things. You ever posted on Spectrum, though? I look at it almost daily. I can't. It's so toxic, I can't. It's just, like... There's one thing for, like, free speech, but... goddamn, there's just no moderation in that. And if there is, it's heavy-handed moderation. with Pico left in the PO lounge. Hey, Merlin. Yeah, you were lucky, Max. Roy De Loup, thank you so much for that rate of 9. I didn't see that. Roy, how you doing? Roy De Loup. That's where Max came from. Max pulled them in. I see. Sakensu and Logthran, thank you so much for those Prime subs. You both rock. And One Wheeled Odin and SFXing. Shingo, thank you so much for those Prime subs as well. It'd be funny if a colony drop was attempted but encountered such that the Ollie winds up floating partially destroyed another part of Orison Atmos, so it can't be turned into another play space. That would be my guess. Honestly, that's my best guess, because I'm a big fan of the evil sideways DS9 from Deep Space Nine. Not Terok Nor, but like Terok, whatever it's called. The one they use for like MacGuffin stories, especially with the Ferengi. And it's in the middle of like a nebula of some kind. It's like surrounded by gas. I'd love to have that kind of creepy element to it. Mbok Nor, thank you. Yeah, I know. To blow Borson, you'd have to have damage assets. I'm not talking about blowing it up. I'm talking about the storyline being you launch that thing towards the planet and you have bombs strapped to it. That way, players have to board Olisar, which has been taken over, kill the Nine Tails on the platforms, find the bombs and disable them, and then alter the course of the platform so it no longer crashes into Olisar, but goes into a different orbit, a lower orbit. Welcome, Roy de Loup. I am not a I do not speak French, unfortunately, but I can do my best to help out. Mbok Nor, thank you, Kiss Me. See, does that sound cool? It's a great way of having it go out. You still keep it in game, just stuck into as a point of interest in the atmosphere of Crusader. You could even make it an unmarked location, so people have to go find it. And it gets it out of there, and it gets a reason for Seraphim Station to be built. Like the Mass Effect missions with the nukes, yeah. It was like on the moon, right? ARAM. Keep it as a gas go like a Space 7-Eleven. Just make it a point of interest. A piece of Star Citizen's history that's just covered by the clouds of Orison that you can go visit and walk around in, but it's its own separate area, a memorial, as it will. Because a lot of people have been wanting it to either go out with a bang or to stay in game as kind of a piece of history, but it can't be the main station that's supporting Olisar anymore. SC version of an Eve Memorial? Yeah, something like that, yeah. Yeah, but you don't want to do the whole thing, right? You don't want to completely overhaul the whole thing because that would be too expensive. And used on CitCon as in day and location. I believe the day for CitizenCon was announced, but and it's in LA, but it's not. We don't know the venue yet. October 21st. It's in Los Angeles, California. We just don't know exactly the location yet. Hey! Hi, One. Thank you so much for that raid. How you doing, Hi, One? Yeah, Los Angeles Convention Center is theorized, but I don't think they've ever made the official announcement that it's Los Angeles Convention Center. Gas mining could bring in an entirely new line of mining ships. That's the concept. At least that's what X believes is going to happen. X believes that there's going to be a small, medium, large, and capital gas miner. There'll be a small, medium, and large ground miner and a small, medium, large space miner. Ram, have a good day at work. I'm gonna head out with stuff off the doors. What's going on? So those of you who don't know, Star Citizen has its own convention every year. It's been digital for the last couple of years because of COVID, but it starts in it's usually in October, which is around the same time Star Citizen started its funding campaign. And so it's called CitizenCon, and they show off a bunch of new tech and stuff like that they developed. It is a big place for developers and fans to come and join and hang out. So that's going to be on October 21st of 2023 in LA. You should have a bar booth there. Well, they had a bar there before. They should turn it into a museum, Paul. They should. That'd be a great way of doing the Volusar, is to turn it into a museum. You're great one, Sleepy. Yeah, I'm probably going to head out here shortly, so. Yeah, I'm gonna call it there, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. As I showed off, there is for if you're a Patreon, the chapter 3 of the complete history of Star Citizen Universe is now up for Patreons. It'll be available for everyone else on Wednesday, March the 15th, and then next Wednesday I will have the video on Virgil, which was recently produced recently made in the Galactic. The jump point, and specifically because it's also the history, adds a little bit of the history of the Titan suit. So we actually know a little bit more about the Titan suits now, as well as, the history of Virgil, where it was founded, the fall of Virgil, and some of that kind of stuff, some of that context as well. So yeah. 317 is almost a year old. No, 317 was the Invictus patch, wasn't it? Or was that the tier 1 patch? I think it was the Invictus patch, yeah. Because no, it was 316. 316 was the end of the year patch. Yeah, it is almost a year old. Can't you guys get like better words? Like, can't you be a little bit more like creative? Be a little bit more creative, all right? Come back when you're a little bit more creative there, buddy. Not in this economy. Well, it's even worse when you see someone with a CMDR screen, because you know they're a Elite Dangerous crew, and like I didn't see a lot of people like reveling in like loving the fact that Elite Dangerous had Odyssey, which was one of the biggest, scammiest, and worst updates they've ever had. It broke the game and was terrible for over a year. No one really overly went and attacked in the Star Citizen universe, as far as I know. It's overly attacked. We were, in fact, welcomed a lot of people who came from Elite Dangerous to come check out Star Citizen, and you know, but it's never returned the opposite way. It's always that Star Citizen is a scam and all that kind of stuff. So, which is always sad. It's like, come on, y'all, grow up. You know, it's a video game. All space games are important because most of us are space game fans, not just Star Citizen, and we'd love to see more stuff succeed. You know. I'm disappointed in your verbosity. Be more entertaining, at least. If you're going to troll, be a little bit more entertaining. All right, y'all. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Like I said, I got all that other stuff in. Yeah, we'll have this video that we just did. I'll post it up next Wednesday. I might post it on Saturday. We'll see. And we'll be back on Saturday with Captain's Table. I'll be back tomorrow with some content. We'll see what we'll do tomorrow. We might play some Star Citizen, but my main focus will be just to watch Star Citizen live. I'm going to do it as well, though. Yeah, I'll be back for this week, and then we'll see where it goes with Star Citizen. Hopefully it'll release in the next 2 weeks, but we'll see. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.